All right, guys, welcome to Press X Podcast, episode 59. Thank you guys so much for waiting patiently. Running just a little bit behind schedule, just a little bit, but we have a fun show today. I'm sure many of you noticed the title of today's podcast, so I'm definitely gonna have to read that out loud because it's a funny one. I'm just trying to have some fun here, but for those of you who are here right now, and for those of you who will be watching later on, please do me a big favor and hit that like button. It really helps the podcast out a lot, more than you know. So yeah, please do me that favor. And I see somebody mentioning the magazine behind me. Yeah, that's official PlayStation magazine. It's unfortunate. Apparently, they're retiring that after it being around for like 33 plus years or something like that. And that it's just crazy, dude. It's crazy. So I figured, I'd put this back there. I'm definitely excited for Resident Evil. So yeah. The title of today's podcast is PS5 smacks the doubters upside the head with more incredible exclusives. And I also put the next event. And I just, I felt that this was an appropriate an appropriate title to use, considering everything that's happened the past couple of weeks. And so have you died in Returnal? Yes, I have. I've been playing a lot of Returnal. So yeah, we're definitely gonna have some interesting topics to talk about. So before I get into the topics, I want to obviously give a shout out to my higher member tiers. So if that's something you want to do to help support the channel directly, I mean, obviously you being here, watching, hitting the like button, that helps tremendously. If you want to go the extra mile and become a channel member, or you want to donate the super chat, that helps tremendously as well. And definitely grateful for everybody that does it. We have the Cape Crusader. You're saying, MBG, please don't show Returnal gameplay in the background. Trying to avoid spoilers. Just got the game this morning. Don't worry, I'm not doing that. And that's why I didn't want to do that, because a lot of people, I think, feel that way, where they just want to go in blind. So it'll just be me on camera. You don't have to worry about that. No worries, Cape Crusader. We have Lyro. You're saying, hey, MBG, had you seen my tweet yesterday about Norman Reedus? You played Death Stranding while I watched my favorite show, and he's there. Weird, huh? Yeah, I saw that, dude. Norman Reedus seems to be kind of creeping up in all these different places, but I really enjoyed him in Death Stranding. I thought he did a great job. But I did see your tweet, man. I did see it. So yeah, gonna give a You're asking me if I got past the first biome in Returnal? I did. I did actually. It wasn't as difficult as I expected it to be. Now, I'm assuming maybe the difficulty will ramp up once I got a feel for the game. It took me, I think, 3 tries total to get past the first biome. The first boss was definitely a little bit difficult, but as somebody who has played all of the Dark Souls games, Bloodborne, I can tell you that for me in that moment anyway, it was basically like, okay, I have to learn his attack patterns and learn the appropriate times to dodge and when to attack. And once I got that down, I took him out relatively easily. I did need a little help. I think I had a basically like a little add-on where I it wasn't a second chance, but it was basically the ability to regain a bunch of health when I was low. So that definitely helped. I probably wouldn't have beat him if it wasn't for that. So you're asking me, should there be a save point? I feel like I can't answer that yet. I got to play it a little bit more. But I want to give a shout out to my member tiers. So we have the Play Has No Limits Plus tier. You guys are truly going above and beyond to help support the channel on a month-to-month basis. So big shout out to Junior Jackson, Samuel Payne, Josh Z, Chlorine Capelloni, David Gaines, and D-Doc. Thank you guys so much. Really, truly appreciate the support month over month. And then we have the Play Has No Limits tier, which is also another big tier. Some big support coming from Brandon Chad Perez, Alpha Azer, Adrian Pollard, Sayin JT, Big Norman 0518, Tyson Webb 509, Shaky Shako, Space Gambler Jr., Sir Speaks a Lot, Jeffrey Hicks, Rune Gasoden, Whiskey Gaming, Ryan Butcher, Chris B, A Shorty Faye. Thank you guys so much once again for what you do. You help power the channel and make it so I can continue to do what I do here. Okay, so somebody's saying the first boss is worse than the second boss. Really? That's interesting. That's interesting. I see somebody saying Stalker 2 confirmed 3 months as an Xbox exclusive. Yeah, I saw that. You know, that was pretty interesting to me. We might go over that here live on the podcast because a lot of people have kind of brought that game up as like a big Xbox exclusive. And it would be pretty funny if we ended up seeing it on a PlayStation just 3 months later. Although I don't know if it's just a timed exclusive for just PC. Like, I don't know. It's really weird. I'm assuming it's launching on PC the same day as it launches on Xbox, right? Like, I have to look into it. Maybe we could go over that. But Big Norman 0518, you're saying, I just want to let you know that I started playing Days Gone because of your passion for it. And it is amazing. It is the first game I've completely finished in a long time. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, man. It's crazy because I've seen some mixed reactions to Days Gone ever since it became a PS Plus game. A lot of people are playing it for the first time and they're absolutely loving it. I actually have a friend who decided to finally play it and he ended up platinuming it and loving it. And I was surprised about that because I was like, you know, I remember I told him when the game first came out, I was like, dude, you got to play this game. It's awesome. And I think he tried it for a little bit, but he was like, you know, he just kind of fell off it. And then he came back to it now and then he ended up platinuming it and, you know, really enjoying it. And so I'm really happy to hear that, man. Big Norman, again, thank you so much for the donations, man. You're saying my very first platinum, so thank you. I hope you and your family are good. Keep up the great work, brother. I've enjoyed your channel for just over a year now and almost right at the year being a member. So awesome, man. I really appreciate the support. I always see you around, Big Norman, and I see that you've been a member for some time. So really appreciate that support, man. And I'm glad you found the channel. I'm glad you enjoy the community. And I'm glad you are enjoying Days Gone. I really am. Caped Crusader, you're saying Ratchet and Clank is what Cyberpunk is supposed to be. Yeah, dude, I couldn't help but kind of go in hard here. Did you guys hear, before we get into the main topics, but did you guys hear how apparently the leadership at CD Projekt Red, they are somehow still getting like bonuses that are like worth millions of dollars, even though the game was an absolute train wreck and a complete colossal failure? Like, it just makes me sad, man. It just makes me sad because you can tell that, like, I'm sure CD Projekt Red is feeling, I mean, I would have to assume they're feeling bad, right? Like, but they're out here celebrating, oh, you know, we sold 13.7 million copies and they're celebrating that. And then on top of that, we're finding out that their leadership, who completely screwed up, they're getting bonuses worth millions of dollars. And it's just like, we're looking at a game which we're going to talk about probably a lot today. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, a brand new gameplay demo that makes Cyberpunk look like a complete joke. And I understand that, people are going to be like, oh, well, they're two different games and Cyberpunk was way more, ambitious. And it's like, yeah, but that's kind of like a problem. You know what I mean? It's not a good, like, a game developer. Hold on, you're saying solid 13.7 million in less than a month, MBG, not a failure. But that's the thing, though. I'm not sitting here saying that 13.7 million copies sold is a failure. Obviously, that's not. That's a lot of copies sold. The failure is the game itself, and honestly, it is very disheartening to hear a game like Cyberpunk do so well, knowing it's a broken product. It's a broken, unfinished product that was overpromised and underdelivered in an extreme way, and to just see how willing people are to just be okay with that really disturbs me. This is, the reason why I talk about Cyberpunk so much is because I think it actually, believe it or not, does do a good job in highlighting what Sony does so well, which is they actually try to make sure their games are finished, right? They will give their teams as long as they need to. That's not to say that when Sony releases their games, they're perfect every single time, but they are never anywhere even remotely close to what we see with what happened with Cyberpunk. Junior Jackson, you're saying, what size disc plates did you get, and are they good size and good quality in your opinion? I'm thinking of getting a few for the game room. Thanks. That's actually a good question. I don't remember the measurements off the top of I think it's like 17 by like 12 or something like that. But basically, it's the smallest ones that they offer. I was afraid to get anything bigger because they might take up too much space. Although I probably could have got the middle size with the medium size, whatever measurements those are. But they're actually really good quality. The only problem I've encountered, and I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet, it may actually happen at some point during the stream, is when you get disc plates, there's like a sticky sleeve that you put on your wall, and then you put the actual magnet sticker part on that. And the only problem I've run into is that the sleeve itself, you're supposed to put that on the wall to prevent any damage being done to your wall. That would actually not be sticky enough, but the actual metal, the magnet itself is sticky enough to where it stays on there. And so, that's the only problem I've run into. But other than that, they're definitely very high quality. I like them. And I'm probably going to continue over time to kind of like interchange them at certain points with different ones. So I really like the Kratos one. The PlayStation logo one, I just wanted to keep it simple. I think it's too simple, but I really like the Kratos one. So yeah, I mean, I'm not sponsored by Displate, but they're definitely high quality. I like them. So let's talk about, well, before, Solid Snake, you're saying, what's up, MBG? Hope you and your family are well. Just wanted to share Stalker 2 coming to PS5 3 months after it releases on the Xbox consoles. So, okay, give me just a second here. I'm gonna check, because I retweeted this, and I'm gonna read the article. We'll just do it live because this is pretty interesting to me. And it's only interesting to me because I see a lot of Xbox guys, they kind of bring this up to like, but we have Stalker 2. And I'm like, I've heard good things about Stalker, and there seems to be some hype for Stalker 2. So after being revealed as an Xbox Series S and X exclusive, it has been revealed in leaked documents that Stalker 2 could end up coming to PS5 just 3 months after it initially launches. The leaked documents come from the ongoing Apple and Epic court case, and showcase a number of exclusive games for Xbox, PlayStation, and the Switch. One of those games is Stalker 2, which according to this document only has an Xbox exclusivity window of 3 months. This comes as GSC Game World stated in an interview with Gaming Bolt that there was no plans for a PS5 release of the game. Whilst this may be the case, that the team aren't currently working on it, we do expect the game to come to PS5 at some point, but it may end up being a little later than when the exclusivity window ends. So, yeah, I mean, see, this is the thing. People talk about how, Xbox doesn't do that, right? Some people talk, oh, Xbox doesn't do timed exclusive deals. Timed exclusivity is bad. That's toxic, whatever. And only Sony does that, and that's why it's toxic. And it's like, no, every game publisher does it, and Xbox is not excluded. Okay. What I think is weird is why they're even bothering doing it if you're only going to do it for 3 months. That's really strange to me. Now, granted, as this article points out, Stalker 2 may not come to PS5 anytime soon because, I mean, it's like maybe they're not working on a PS5 version. It's weird to me. This is why I kind of like the way Sony does it, where like if Sony's like, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it for a year. I mean, Final Fantasy VII Remake. If you were interested in Final Fantasy VII Remake, who's still waiting for it? I'm sure there's like a small group of people, but the overwhelming majority of people who are excited for that game and wanted to play that game, they already did so on PlayStation. And you look at a game like Forspoken, which is coming out, right? Project Athia, formerly known as Project Athia, 2-year timed exclusive. I mean, that's a little weird to me because I feel like if you're going to do 2 years, just make it a full exclusive, right? But still, that's what Sony's doing. And you don't see Sony do stuff like this very often, where it's like if they're going to do the timed exclusivity thing, they at least try to make it a reasonable chunk of time that makes sense. I'm not advocating for it. I'm not against it. Like, I feel like Microsoft, if you want me to play this game in your ecosystem, like, you're going to have to keep it there a little bit longer than 6 months. But maybe they're aware that like the developer isn't, sometimes it does come down to the developers. Maybe they're literally not going to make a PS5 version. Maybe Microsoft knows this and they're like, all right, well, why pay for 6 months or a year if we don't have to? That's a possibility, but it's a little bit strange, I think it's just a good reminder that Microsoft does the same thing. Okay, like Microsoft does timed exclusive content. We can't sit here and act like Sony's some kind of like, evil entity for doing so. No, it's just the name of the game, man. It's always been a part of the industry and always will be a part of the industry. And, I'm a believer in just embrace it. It's like exclusives, right? Like, just embrace it. Don't fight it. Just embrace it because they're, once you embrace it, it doesn't feel so bad. And what I mean by that is like if, the idea that Microsoft is going to have State of Decay 3, a game that I'm excited about, the only way I'm going to play that is I'm going to have to invest in their ecosystem. I'm okay with that. Like, to me, that's like, okay, like you have my interest and you want to entice me to come to your platform. You guys know I'm not against exclusives, but let's talk about, let's talk about how PlayStation has completely smacked the doubters upside their heads. They just smacked them right in the back of their heads, because I know you guys have been here with me this whole time. You guys have been here, and we have went through a very interesting cycle. That cycle starts with, Sony going quiet, and then it continues by Sony remaining quiet. But when Sony talks, they're kind of talking a little bit about some business decisions that they're making, some business moves they're making that not everybody's happy about. And then it continues to kind of manifest, right, due to Sony's continued silence and remaining quiet. And then it starts to snowball into this just big snowball that's rolling downhill, getting bigger and bigger and growing, of negativity and doubt and just these negative narratives that have been written up. And, I have been kind of defending, PlayStation a little bit. And that defense has come in the form of, guys, they're quiet. They're going to talk. I think we should just wait a little bit. Be patient. I mean, how many times have I said that? I know that many of you here listening right now, you guys know I said over and over again, be patient. Like, Sony's going to respond, and when they do, it's going to be obvious what they do. And I even put that as one of my last podcast titles. I said Sony's response is obvious. And what did I say? I said they're going to let the games do the talking. And it's so funny to me. So funny that all these dudes are getting smacked upside their head, because it's like you had a couple of weeks to do as much damage as you possibly could, and you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything, and it's laughable to me, because what does Sony have to do? They don't have to do much. And that's not a bad thing because it's not the amount that they're doing, it's what they're doing. And that's what's important. Sony says, okay, take your shots, get your shots in while you have a chance, because next week, Returnal previews are dropping. And people are going to be pleasantly surprised at how positive these previews are. And then after that, we're going to have a Ratchet and Clank State of Play. And at that point, people are going to be blown away by what we show with Ratchet and Clank. Like literally blown away. And then after that, we're going to release Returnal, and PlayStation 5 owners. Now, I know it's unfortunate because not all PlayStation gamers can partake due to scarcity. I understand there's that caveat here. But still, it's like, it's just a 1-2 punch. And the thing is, it's not even the haymaker, man. Like, this is far from the haymaker that Sony has saved up. You know, these are just the early rounds, man. These are just the early rounds. And it's crazy because it's like, it feels like Microsoft has to try to come in with a haymaker with the Bethesda acquisition. And I'll admit, like, yeah, you know, that kind of a haymaker like that, it's not going to KO Sony at all, but it's going to, you know, it's going to be like, okay. Sony's like, all right, I felt that one, but we're coming back. And Sony's ready to go to the rounds. I'm sure Microsoft is as well, but it's just, it's funny to me, man. It's like Microsoft gets one good shot in and suddenly it's like, you know, like who's talking about MLB right now other than me in this exact moment? Who's talking about it? Who's talking about MLB on Game Pass? No one is. Literally no one. Because why would they? Because who cares? There's a bunch of fake outrage. I'm telling you. Like it was something that was so obvious we already knew. And everybody's like, oh no. And then it's like a week later, it's like silence. No, who's talking about it? No one. You know what people are talking about? They're talking about Returnal. That's what they're talking about right now. They're talking about Ratchet and Clank. They're talking about the next PlayStation event. Rory, you're saying Sony's response has completely silenced the critics. Yes, it has. I agree. And the thing is, it's not the big response yet either. Like this is just Sony doing what they do best, and that's why I'm saying it's not the amount that they're doing. Like Sony doesn't have to respond by panicking and being like, well, you bought Bethesda, well, we bought these guys. Like, no. Sony's like, okay, you know, we got Haven Studio. Pretty cool. Be excited. Not too excited. It's the early days, but be excited. Then they're like, we're partnering with Firewall Games. AAA multiplayer game. Gonna be PlayStation exclusive. Don't get too excited though. Still the early days. They're just laying the foundation. But what you can get excited about is we're talking about games that are potentially years away. But don't worry, we got games right now too. We got Returnal. We got Ratchet and Clank. And you know what else they're going to have in the coming months? Another event. And that event, telling you, that's where you're going to see the haymakers. That's where you're going to see it. Probably from both Sony and Microsoft, not just Sony. iSiler18, you're saying Ratchet and Clank up next. What does Xbox offer me this year? A game that has had sequels and spin-offs since year 2001. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people talking about Halo, and you know, we talk about this pretty much each week, but it's hard not to because we're getting closer and closer to that inflection point, right? Where it's like we kind of have a good idea of the year for Sony. Like we know Sony's going to have, you know, they have Returnal right now. And the thing about Ratchet and Clank, guys, like I'm starting to realize like Ratchet and Clank is going to be a massive hit. Like it's going to be huge. I mean, I think we already kind of knew that Ratchet and Clank was going to be like a big title, but it's like based off of what I'm seeing and based off of the conversations that are happening right now and just the level of excitement, I think Ratchet's going to be bigger than anybody really anticipated. So, you know, you have that, and that's after coming off of a solid launch lineup with the PS5 in November, okay? Then we have Horizon and God of War. And God of War is not coming this year, but it's very, very likely God of War will be launching before March 2022 or before April 2022. So it's still basically like a year away at that point, if that's their plan. But that's going to, you know, you want to talk about haymakers, okay? Horizon is going to be a haymaker. Horizon is going to be a straight uppercut that's going to knock Microsoft on their ass, honestly. And God of War is going to be even bigger than that. I mean, God of War is going to be, you know, like a suplex, basically. As long as these games even get anywhere close to living up to their expectation, which I think they will. And again, it's not trying to, you're saying Ratchet and Clank will be a hit, but not a massive hit. No, dude, it's going to be a massive hit. Watch. Like, I'm telling you now, like, Ratchet and Clank is going to do work for Sony and Insomniac. Ratchet and Clank's going to do big numbers. I'm telling you. The signs are there. I would be surprised if it didn't. The only thing that I think could hold it back is maybe Sony's struggle to keep up with demand with the PlayStation 5, but the signs are there, man. It's not going to be like I don't know if Ratchet and Clank's going to be like a 10, 12 million seller. That seems too much, and I don't think Ratchet and Clank's going to like break a record. I don't think Sony's going to come out and be like, Ratchet and Clank has now surpassed The Last of Us Part 2 as the fastest selling exclusive within 3 days. I don't think it's going to do that, but it's going to do work. It's going to do work. It's going to do numbers. And I think you're saying Sifu's going to be a sleeper hit? I agree. Sifu's going to be a sleeper hit. Kendall Fire saying, we know all of Microsoft's first-party games for the next 5 years. Sony hasn't announced anything beyond 2021 except maybe God of War. And that's what I'm talking about, man. So it's like the things that we know about, and you could say the same thing about Microsoft, where it's like, well, when it comes to Microsoft, we kind of know what to expect from them as well, right? Like, we know that they're going to have Halo Infinite. And to talk about Halo Infinite, I'm just going to cut through it. All right. Like, I talked about how, like, some people talk about how Halo is bigger than anything Sony has. So there's a little bit of a disconnect here. Halo Infinite is basically going to be free to play, at least for the multiplayer, right? The story, as far as I know, won't be, but I know the multiplayer is going to be free to play, and it's going to have Game Pass. Halo Infinite's going to have Game Pass. So no matter what, Halo's going to succeed. Okay, like, even if Halo Infinite is a dumpster fire, which I don't think it's going to be, I think at the worst, Halo will end up being like, oh yeah, it's good. It's good. You know, like, I think it has the potential, depending on what 343 has done these past months, it has the potential to be a hit, but I don't know, man. You're saying, MBG, if you saw Halo Infinite upgraded screens on PC, it was not the answer. And like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like Halo Infinite is going to do well, but it's going to do well because of Game Pass, because of the fact that Microsoft is making it as accessible as possible. You're saying Ratchet and Clank will sell over 10 million? It could. But the thing about it is, like, you stack up Halo Infinite against Horizon, and I don't know, maybe this is just my bias, but I really truly feel like it doesn't touch Horizon. I mean, I know it's going to do numbers. Like, I know Microsoft is going to brag about how Halo Infinite has X amount of players and whatever. It's like, I get that. And I know that maybe it's difficult to compare the two because one is being, it's going to be accessible on multiple platforms, PC, Xbox, Game Pass, and the other is being sold is going to be sold at $70 on a platform where it's selling like crazy, but they're struggling to keep up with the demand. So I know in a way they're not comparable, but I just feel like from a quality perspective, like from a if you rank, like, if you have like a tier list of like quality, like there's like S tier quality, A tier, B tier, C tier. Horizon Forbidden West undoubtedly is S tier quality. And I do not even remotely think that Halo Infinite is anywhere near S tier quality. I think it could be A tier if they really work hard to make it that. But I'm thinking it's more B tier than anything. It could be A tier though. But it's not going to hit S tier. So then you think, well, what about Starfield? And then Starfield, to me, as I said before, this is the wild card where it's like Starfield could be S tier depending. We have no clue, but it could be C tier. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, in my personal opinion, the only thing that Microsoft really has done to kind of, I guess you could say, shake the PlayStation community or the PlayStation brand, the only thing they've done is announce the Bethesda acquisition. That's it. I mean, I get there's Game Pass, I get the Game Pass value and Outriders. Cool. That's all cool. But like, that's not, most PlayStation fans, people who actually like PlayStation, they don't care about any of that. But Bethesda was the only thing that Microsoft has done, in my opinion, in recent years to really kind of be like, okay, this is shaking the community a little bit. But we're still not there. And I really feel that this year, Sony's not going to pull any punches. And I'm just wondering, like, I know that Microsoft isn't going to pull any punches either, but my question is, are Microsoft's punches going to land? Because I feel like, the Xbox community who, they really feel that they're going to land these punches, like every single one. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. I was told the same thing last year. I was told their event was going to be massive. I was told that Halo Infinite was going to blow people's socks off, and that was going to be the big haymaker. And it was the furthest thing from it. And I'm like, we're going through the same cycle is what I'm trying to convey. We're going through the same cycle. It seems like this is a cyclical thing. And I told you last week that I was going to give Microsoft the benefit of the doubt, but I'm still just not sold yet, man. And I see like people are talking about their hype for Halo Infinite because of some new screenshots, and I'm just like, dude, Ratchet and Clank like takes a dump on Halo Infinite. I'm sorry, it just does. It does, dude. In almost every sense. Like Halo Infinite's like, we need to go back to the roots of Halo and basically like go back to our original fundamental game design. And Ratchet and Clank's over here like, let's do things completely different. Like let's try to do some crazy things with like teleportation and stuff and just instantaneous world switching that has never been achieved. And let's also do it while creating what is obviously the most visually stunning game ever created. And you see what I'm saying? It's like people talk about like Halo Infinite competing with Horizon. It's like, it's just not. I'm sorry, Ratchet and Clank looks S tier. It looks S tier, dude. It doesn't even look A tier. It looks S tier. Joshua, you're saying Ratchet looks like how I imagined the PS5 in my dreams. Chris B, you're saying looking at the Outriders' success, Game Pass users are clamoring for any multiplayer FPS experience. Halo will do fine. Oh yeah, it's going to do fine, dude. When it comes to Halo doing numbers, it's going to do numbers. It's just like, we have the conversation about quality, right? Where does Halo Infinite fall in that conversation? Because to me, quality is everything. Quality is everything. So like Returnal. I'm going to talk about Returnal for a second. The Caped Crusader is saying, what if Halo Infinite gets delayed again? Oh, that would be... It won't. It definitely won't. Microsoft won't let that happen. iSiler18, you're saying Halo being free to play automatically makes it a hit, but it's all about keeping people's attention. And Microsoft will capitalize on overall player base, but not actual concurrent players or hard sales as per usual. And you're completely correct. Hard sales don't mean much to Microsoft anymore. I think Halo Infinite will sell well for sure because I feel like it's Halo, so it's like it's going to sell, but it's like, again, this kind of just falls in line with Microsoft looking to succeed in a different way, in a non-traditional way in the console space as a first party publisher. Kevin, you're saying, but Halo did blow people's socks off, just not how we wanted. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, dude. So let's talk about, we're talking about quality. Let me ask you guys in the chat. Let's use the tier model. We have S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, and then D tier. Where do you rank Halo Infinite in that tier list? For me, based off of what I've seen so far and based off of 343's track record, to me, Halo Infinite is going to be a B tier. I think it could surprise and end up being an A if they really put a lot into it and it ends up like being, better maybe than we thought. I'm seeing a lot of C tiers. Somebody's saying an S tier. I'm seeing a lot of Bs and a lot of Cs. And like, I agree with that. I think Halo Infinite if Halo Infinite is in the same shape it was when we saw it last year, then yeah, I think that's going to be C tier. But I think at the very minimum, it's going to hit that B tier. And I think the potential to hit A tiers there. So here's a question I have for you guys. Let's keep it because this is fun. We'll just do tier lists, right? I know it's pretty much impossible for us to gauge, but I'm just curious. What is Starfield going to be? Now, before you give your answer for Starfield, keep in mind, Sony was trying to lock this game down as a timed exclusive. So keep that in mind, okay? And usually the stuff Sony goes after, they try to go after higher quality stuff. What do you think? So I'm seeing B tier, A, B+, S tier, A, Bs, a lot of A's, okay? I see one C, that Z tier, okay. So I'm seeing like more B's and A's in terms of like what you expect Starfield to be. And that's interesting to me because it seems that the expectation for Starfield is definitely higher, right? Like it's definitely higher on the list. So um for me, when it comes to Starfield, I'm going to put it at A tier. I'm going to put it at A tier, and maybe I'm putting it too high, but I'm trying to give it the benefit of the doubt. So let's keep going with this, okay? So where do we put Ratchet and Clank on the tier list? Where do we put Ratchet and Clank? S, A, B, C, or D? Curious to see what you guys say. Seeing A, S, A. Somebody says B, couple B's, a lot of S's. A's. Now, I know that that's easy to say, oh, we're biased because but I mean, I don't know, man. I have to put Ratchet and Clank at S tier. Okay, like in the beginning with Ratchet and Clank, I was thinking it was going to be more in line with the other like the last Ratchet and Clank game. But to me, it's clear that like Insomniac and Sony are going all in with Ratchet and Clank. After this latest gameplay demonstration, 100% Ratchet and Clank is S tier. 100%. 100% is S tier. Samson, you're saying Halo Infinite will be a free-to-play game live service. Yeah, and that's going to guarantee its success no matter what, right? But I think no matter what, Ratchet's S tier. Now, what about Horizon? What is Horizon Forbidden West? Is that an auto S tier? I feel like it is. I feel like it is. I feel like there like a game like Horizon would have to go out of its way to be non-S tier. Now, do we even have to ask about God of War? Come on, we already know God of War's S plus tier, right? Now, maybe I'm setting these games up for failure, but you know, it's Cape Crusader. You're saying if Microsoft is smart, they'll make every Bethesda game an exclusive. People may not like it, but it's their best chance to actually compete with PlayStation. I would agree with you if Microsoft cared at all about that. Like Microsoft cares about. It's like they don't care about exclusives for their console. They care about keeping their games off of the competitive consoles. That's what they care about. So there's a difference there. Although, I don't know, man. Like, when it comes to Microsoft, I could see them just go all in one day and just be like, we're just going to put our games on PlayStation. Like, I could see them doing that. I don't think they will anytime soon, but I could see it. But the reason why I'm having this conversation, okay, let me ask you guys this too, just to finish this up. What about Returnal? Like, where's Returnal on the tier list? I'm not going to answer yet. I want to see what you guys have to say. I mean, obviously, a lot of us have played it so far. So, A+, B, A. A lot of A's. Somebody says an S, A, B. Seeing a lot of A's. Seeing a few C's. Man, it's hard to keep up with. Okay, so I actually do agree with the A tier. Although I could see Returnal being B tier, depending. Like, it's difficult for me to gauge yet because I'm still so early in it. I'm only past the first biome, and I'm kind of in between A and B. It's definitely not S tier. And I can confidently say that Returnal's not S tier, but I think that like we all kind of know that. Now, the question of, oh, well, does a game need to be S tier to be worth $70? Well, we'll have a conversation about that later on, but my opinion might change depending on how far I go. To me, Returnal's A tier, and I personally think an A tier game could be worth $70 for sure. You know, like Horizon could end up being A tier, and it could still certainly be worth 70, but it seems likely it's going to be S tier. iStyler18, you're saying Ratchet is B plus tier. Personally, not big on cartoony stuff. Returnal is A so far. God of War, Horizon, and your favorite, The Last of Us 2 are S tier. I mean, The Last of Us 2, I do also consider S tier. Again, I didn't like the story, but putting the story aside, I mean, everything that game does, it's like, it feels wrong to put it at A tier in terms of quality. Because keep in mind, we're talking about quality here. Now, if you don't think it was quality storytelling, well, you know, that can impact your opinion. But even for me, as somebody who didn't like the story, I still think Last of Us 2 is S tier. I mean, just look at it. The game is like, it looks like it could be a PS5 game, you know? Yeah, so, you know, just kind of continuing on and talking about this idea of PlayStation smacking these guys upside the head. I mean, is this going to keep happening? Like, that's the question I have. Is this going to keep happening? Are people going to continue to come out here when Sony's quiet and doubt and fearmonger? And I hope they do. I hope they do, because they just set themselves up for failure every time, man. You know, like, I have just these recurring images in my head of the past year of all these Xbox dudes, man, just coming at me being like 12 T-flops, you know, tower power, like 23 first party studios and all this stuff. And just like, and I'm looking at Ratchet and Clank and I'm like, what are you guys smoking? Like, what are you guys smoking over there? And I feel like that's what they need. They need a smack upside the head. I'm like, you guys are over here talking about Stalker 2, a game that's going to be a 3-month timed exclusive, and you're trying to downplay Ratchet. You know, oh, it's a cartoony game. Like, okay, then. Okay. I guess that's what we're going to say. Savage Giraffe, you're saying Microsoft did a poor job planning for this gen. They plastered Master Chief all over the Xbox Series Xbox, or even inside the console, but no Chief for release. By the way, I'm liking Returnal. It's such a nice change. Yeah, dude, I got to tell you, that was really funny to me. Like it is comical to me, and to be honest, it's more concerning than anything, but it's, you know, given my position, it's comical. It's comical to me how unprepared Microsoft was to delay Halo. Like, you're right, they literally had it all over the place. They actually had deals in place with like energy drinks, right? For like double XP or something like that, or some kind of codes or whatnot. And it just ended up being nothing because they had to delay. And I'm just like, I feel like I'm saying this week over week, but it's hard not to fixate on this considering how close we are to the next Xbox event. Who over there at Xbox thought this game was ready? You know, like, that's crazy to me. That is just crazy to me. You know, Joshua Reese, you're saying Xbox is the Nickelback of the gaming industry. Yeah, I guess they are in a way. Siler again, you're saying can't stand Nintendo games, but Sony's taking their direction in just being quiet until they're ready and it's working. Trash like Cyberpunk gloated year after year, and look at what happened. Dude, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, Sony, I know that for the past couple weeks, I've been saying that Sony needs to respond, or I don't think I was necessarily saying that. You know, it's just that a lot of people were saying, does Sony need to respond? And we had multiple conversations, and what I said every single time is that we need to be patient. Like, we need to give Sony a little bit of breathing room here. I think they earned that, because something tells me that when they do respond, it's gonna silence everybody. Nintendo Power is saying, I missed your super chat. Sorry about that, man. Give me a second to go find it. Oh, there you go. Okay. Nintendo Power is saying, I've heard that Hades was a better roguelike game. I mean, dude, Hades is winning like Game of the Year awards. So, you know, I can't speak to it because I haven't played it, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't necessarily... Returnal in some ways could be a Game of the Year contender, but I still think it's missing a couple aspects just based off of what I played. It's just the nature of the game. It's tough, man, because I haven't played it enough. It's hard for me to talk about where Returnal sits right now because I have to beat it. Like, my thing with playing Returnal is I'm expecting a couple of surprises as I continue to play, and you know, I'm just not there yet. Like, I haven't played enough, so we'll see. But I'm loving it so far. It's definitely a difficult game, but it requires patience and it requires practice. The Caped Crusader is saying Sunset Overdrive was a cartoony game, but Xbox YouTube channels loved it. They're such hypocrites. Yeah, it's why it's hard for me to even pay attention to any of that anymore. Freeze Vamp, you're asking, have I heard about Konami? Yeah, I'm going to talk about Konami. We're going to talk about that in a little while, so stay tuned. But yeah, I mean, it's the hypocrisy of it all, where it's like, you know, I am a believer in gameplay is king. Like, a game doesn't have to look good. But at the same time, it's like when you take, there's just, not every game is held to the same standard. Okay. So like Returnal, I'm playing Returnal, and let me tell you, you can tell that it, like, Returnal doesn't look as good as Ratchet and Clank. just visually, just image quality. It doesn't look, and it's not going to look as good as Horizon. But I'm not thinking of that. You know what I mean? I'm not thinking of comparing Returnal to Horizon because they're just two different things. Returnal to me comes off as this is a smaller studio's first attempt at trying to make a AAA game in every area, right? And visually, it looks really good. Like, Returnal looks really good. It's not a bad looking game. But when you look at it close enough, you can tell, like, it's not on the same level as Ratchet and Clank or some of Sony's first parties. It's just not. But I don't think it needs to be. I think this is an area where, like, they do get a pass here because they got the most important thing down first, you know, and they got the most important thing down right first, and that is the gameplay and the type of content that's on offer. And the visuals, you know, to be honest, for a studio's first time making a AAA game, they're good, man. Like, they're good. Like, it seems like what they make up, the lack of visual quality is made up in just the spectacle of what they can achieve with the particle effects. And to be honest, the game's so fast-paced, that was the smarter thing to do. A game like Returnal, considering the type of gameplay, it's not open world. It's not about, you know, taking time to take in the open worlds and the vastness of it and sitting around and looking at the beauty. I mean, don't get me wrong. It looks good. And there are some very interesting environments to look at, but it's about the fast-paced action. And so they put more resources into making sure it's trying to it's maintaining performance most of the time and the overall spectacle of it as you're performing all of these crazy maneuvers, you know, throughout the environment. And I think that they made the right choice there. To whereas I feel like a game like Halo Infinite, it's like a game like Returnal should not be able to hold its own against Halo Infinite. It just shouldn't. It just shouldn't. Between the 12 T-flops power of the Series X, between it being a quadruple A game underneath Microsoft, right? The most expensive game ever made in history. No. Like, Halo Infinite should stomp Returnal in terms of visuals. You see what I'm saying? So that's why when we see Halo Infinite not look so great last year, it's like, it's expectation, man. And the expectation is, it's justified. It really is. Savage Draft, you're saying Sony is always patient. When their games release, it always feels like a nice, finely aged wine. Microsoft just throws money at stuff, hoping to get you drunk. Just how it feels for the past 10 years. Dude, I agree, man. I agree. Again, I'm not trying to keep going on about the whole PlayStation versus Xbox thing, but I just feel like when we see what we've been seeing, like you know, playing a game like Returnal, it's a reminder. It's like, this is why I play PlayStation, man, for games like this. You know, I mean, I was pumped for Demon's Souls. I was pumped for Spider-Man Miles Morales. And even Astrobot pleasantly surprised me. And then it's like a couple months go by, you know, and everybody's doom and gloom all of a sudden. And it's like they drop Returnal. And I'm like, this is it. Like, this is why I bought a PS5, man. Like, this is why I support PlayStation. And then they drop a Ratchet and Clank State of Play. And yes, this is why I support PlayStation, man. This is why I was 110% confident in saying 2 or 3 weeks ago, be patient. Be patient. Just wait. You think Sony's not going to come out here and silence people? They are. And they're going to do it by letting the games do the talking. And that's exactly what they did. And you know how I predicted that with such certainty? This isn't me, like, you know, patting myself on the back. No, it's because that's just what Sony does. That's what PlayStation does now. That's what they've been doing for quite some time. And I tend to agree with you where it feels like Microsoft is doing anything but talking about the games. It's like they're talking about the services. They're talking about the value of their services. They're talking about the amount of games you can access through their services. You know, they're talking about how many more games you're going to get through their services eventually now that they bought Bethesda. And I'm just like, I don't care. I just don't care about any of that. You know, show me what you got. And I'm giving them a chance. I'm giving Microsoft a chance to bring the haymakers. This E3, this June. Show me what you got, Microsoft. That's what I want to know. Because Sony, they earned they earned the right to be quiet, to stay quiet. And they've earned the right to do it for extended periods of time because you know when they speak, they're going to speak through the games and the games are going to be good. That's just how it is, man. I don't question Sony in that area anymore. That doesn't mean I don't, give them a free pass with everything, because I don't. But let me tell you, man, like, what does this all come down to? What do we always talk about? It's about the games. And when a company is getting the games right this often, this consistently, it's hard to fault them. It's hard to find it's hard to be like, oh yeah, Sony sucks now. Like, what? Mega 3000, you're saying Ratchet is absolutely S tier. The whole internet is calling it a Pixar movie. The quality and attention to detail can't be denied. I agree, dude. I agree. Cape Crusader, you're saying predictions for Halo Infinite Metacritic score. I think it's going to be an 82. I think it's going to be between an 80 and an 82. If it's beyond an 82, I would be surprised. I could see it hit an 85. If it goes beyond an 85, I would be surprised. Do I think Returnal is going to have a higher Metacritic score? Yes, I do. I do. And that's, again, it comes down to expectation. I think that it's just, you can't be lenient on 343 and Halo. Just like you can't be lenient on Horizon. You can't be lenient on Horizon. I feel like you can be a little bit lenient on Returnal because it's their first time. And it's like, look, you're not going to expect, God of War, Horizon, even Ratchet and Clank level quality right out of the gate. But the fact that Housemarque gets so damn close right out of the gate, this is why I talked about, I think Sony maybe should try to consider potentially acquiring Housemarque, because it's like, this is organic growth right here. This is how it's done. This is their first AAA game. They're doing really great. Just imagine what they can do with some more time, some more practice, some more experience, some more money, a bigger budget, right? That's the thing, dude. Like, I feel like Halo 4 was where like people could be more lenient on 343, and Microsoft was like, okay, it's their first time. And it's like Halo 5, and it's like, what? And now it's Halo Infinite. It's like, come on, like, you gotta deliver here. You know what I mean? Savage Draft, you're saying Halo has to be good with a $750 million production cost on it now, hence me saying they're throwing money around. It wouldn't surprise me, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I'm getting really sick and tired of like the greatest strength with the Xbox brand is the amount of money it has to throw around. I hate that because I'm getting tired of it, because it's like that has now become like a thing that people look at and try to use as like, this is why you should like Xbox. And I'm like, I get it. They can afford to give you really, really good deals and really good value. And that is not a bad thing per se, like inherently. But when you zoom out, you realize like, what is that getting you right now though? It's getting you Outriders day one. Great. That's great. I don't care. Like, me personally, like, and I'm not sure who really does, that's like, I just want great games. Like, is it too much to ask for, And it's like, I get that Microsoft is, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I think, don't you find the timing of Microsoft's acquisition of Bethesda interesting? I find it interesting. I don't think Microsoft, I could be wrong. This is pure speculation on my part, and maybe there are people who have a better understanding, but you're saying exactly Returnal is 86 and Ghost of Tsushima 83. Well, so again, I feel like the expectations on Sucker Punch were inherently higher than Housemarque. Therefore, reviewers are going to be a little bit tougher on Sucker Punch because it's like they've been around the block a couple times, Although I've talked about how I know some people are going to get all defensive when I say this, but I'm giving my opinion. Ghost of Tsushima is not an 83. It's just not. If you play Ghost of Tsushima from start to finish, it's not an 83, dude. And that I'm not making it sound like 83 is bad, because it's not. 83 is very good, but it's not an 83. It's just not. It's just the same reason that Days Gone is not a 71. I'm not saying Days Gone is a 90. It's not a 71. Ghost of Tsushima is not an 83. At minimum, 86, 87, 88 at minimum. But it's all subjective. That's just my opinion. So If you're somebody who played it and you think it's an 83 or even less than that, then you're entitled to your opinion, and that's perfectly fine. We can all agree to disagree. It's just review scores at the end of the day, Metacritic, I agree. Metacritic, it was disheartening to hear that apparently Sony does care very much about Metacritic. I kind of hope that's not true, because that's like, come on, like you can't. It's nice, but you can't. Sony, that's one thing you can't do. I don't know how true it is, but I really hope that doesn't determine, like how good Sony feels about a game, because it's like, no, don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. It's just a number. It doesn't matter. Listen to what the community is saying about the game. Look at the sales. That's, in my opinion, what they should be paying attention to. Savage Draft, you're saying, I like how you mentioned PlayStation has organic growth. Xbox is always forced. Money can't buy everything. Xbox is a prime example. Well, that's the thing, dude. That's why I was talking about the... You're saying you got reviewers like Jeff Grubb. Dude, I'm not even going to go there. Not even going to go there, because you know what? Like, we all see it clear as day, to the point where nothing needs to be said, and I'm not going to even bother. Michael, you're saying, so I call eBay, and eBay try to have the seller send us a return barcode in return, but he refused. So eBay gave us our money back and told us to keep the PS5. So you retracted that message. I don't know if it was because, I don't know why, but thank you for the super chat. It sounds like you got a PS5. I don't know, with basically for free. If that's the case, then awesome, right? But let's talk about the timing. So I don't know how much truth there is to this, okay? I'm not an insider. I don't have the inside scoop on Xbox. But I just find it interesting that, Microsoft seemed to have felt very confident in their own first-party capability leading up to their 2020 showcase, right, in July. Microsoft had their big game showcase in July of 2020, and they seemed very confident. And I know they seemed confident because Xbox fans were feeling really confident, man. And I was feeling confident as well, even as somebody who's not a big Xbox fan. And I was like, look, you're saying, did I miss a super chat? I don't think so. I have all my super chats in front of me. I don't see any here that I missed. But it's just weird to me that Microsoft has this renewed confidence in their first-party studios and their first-party capability. Then they come out here and they show off Halo Infinite as their big game, and the rest of their show was kind of like, it's good in the sense, like, if you're willing to wait years for games. They just showed a lot of CG trailers, and I think it was made pretty clear that these games are many years away, the overwhelming majority of them. And they also had a lot of third-party timed exclusive deals in there. And it's interesting to me that, after that, that's kind of when it begins, right? That's kind of when it's like, we're going to acquire Bethesda. And it just kind of comes off to me. It's like, it really is like, is this what you have to do to succeed? Because it really does kind of seem like Microsoft has no choice but to buy their way to success. And don't get me wrong, Sony does the same thing, but in a very different way. And I'm just getting sick and tired of the whole Microsoft money hat thing, where it's like, that's your greatest thing that you have. Like, that's the biggest, like, that's what Microsoft has to use to get their fans excited. And that, to me, is sad. It's just sad, dude. I'm not trying to be rude towards Xbox fans. And don't get me wrong, to an extent, there is a level of excitement that should be had. Like, yeah, they acquired Bethesda. Be excited about that. But it's just like, people ask me, they ask me all the time, like, oh, what does Xbox have to do to make you switch? Well, first of all, it's never going to be about switching. Okay. I never truly left Xbox to the point where, like, I threw my console out and I I kind of did unsubscribe from their services, but I'm just saying that it's like, I never really left. I just always kind of been like, well, while I wait, I'm going to go embrace a platform that's clearly doing a lot of things that I want, right? And my hope is that one day Xbox does that. And it just boggles my mind that like I'm over here and I'm talking about a new AAA exclusive that I'm playing. I have in my hands right now that is better than a lot of games I've played, right? And it's impressing me, and I'm like, this is really fun, man. Like, this is great. And this is a different type of game. Returnal is a different type of game. Somebody mentioned earlier in a super chat, it's like a nice change of pace. I agree. It's a different type of game. People want to talk about how Sony doesn't bring variety. Sony doesn't do anything different. They just do cookie cutter stuff. Get out of here. You don't know what you're talking about, because not only is Returnal different, but so is Ratchet, right? And I'm sitting here and I'm playing this game and I'm enjoying it. And then in just a little over a month, I'm going to be enjoying another AAA that looks even better in Ratchet and Clank. And then I know for the rest of the second half of the year, who knows what else we're in store for it, right? And meanwhile, it's like, if you're over on Xbox, it's like you get to be excited about the amount of money that Microsoft is throwing around. And I see these lists of games that Xbox guys give me, and I'm just like, I don't know what these games are. I saw that game Second Extinction, and I'm like, okay, like maybe that can be kind of good. I mean, at the very least, it looks like it's going to be worth playing through Game Pass if you're subscribed through Game Pass. But it's like, do you see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? It's like Microsoft conditioned their fan base to be excited about how much money they're spending. It started with the 5 studio announcements in 2018. It continued in 2019 with more studio announcements. And then they just upped the ante and said, well, if you're excited about studio announcements, wait till you hear about this next one with the Bethesda acquisition. And I feel like the Bethesda acquisition was something that had to happen, because it's like, you can't rely on Halo anymore. You can't rely on Gears. You can't rely on Forza. And these other studios you bought, their games are years away, or they're smaller games, and that's okay, but it's not going to be enough, you know? Let me see. Nintendo Power, you're saying, boggles my mind that people can give a 10 out of 10 for The Last of Us 2, but Ghost was literally the best open world game to play / explore in 2020, and it gets an 83. Yeah, it's disheartening, man. I mean, I'm not saying that Ghost got an unfair shake, it didn't get a fair shake, but I think it's pretty clear that, you know, the user experience that people had with Ghost of Tsushima is much. You should pay attention to that. Pay attention to the user experience. Listen to, you know, people who are talking about it, the community behind it. Listen to what they're saying about the game, more so than reviewers. Because I'm not saying Ghost was perfect. There were some areas that did come off as like, okay, like this isn't crazy innovative or anything, but it's like they did it so well. A lot of the things they did better than like 99% of other developers. My stream might be lagging out a little bit, guys. I don't know if it's lagging out or not. I apologize if it is. But it seems that anytime there's any lag with the stream, the audio comes through just fine. So, Michael, you're saying, LOL, yeah, my wife bought it for $1,300 and tried to return it to the seller, but didn't want to take it back. So eBay gave us the money and we still got the PS5. Dude, if that's true, that is a huge win. Huge win, if true. So I'm glad to hear that you got a PS5 though, man. X, you're saying, love your stuff. Returnal is the most fun I've had with a game since Doom Eternal last year. The game oozes intrigue and most importantly, oozes fun. Exactly, dude. Exactly. I had my first true experience with Returnal last night where I played it for a couple of hours straight and I got really far. I explored every area and I got, you know, I powered Celine up and I got to the boss battle and I died. It was my first time facing the boss, and when he hit his second form, I died. And I felt that. Like, I was like, oh, dude, like, and I see the cutscene play where I had to start all over. And it's like, you know, what I loved about it is it was so easy to put the game down, but it was so easy to pick back up because I put it down and I'm like, all right, I'm going to take a little break now because that was a long run. And it's just, you know, you feel the sting of like, I didn't beat the boss battle. I can't progress. I got to start over. And then this morning when I woke up, I was like, all right, let's go do this again. And I did it again. And then I beat the boss and I'm like, yes, dude. You're saying which is harder, Returnal or Dark Souls? I feel like I want to say Returnal's harder for the simple fact that it demands more skill up front. I feel like there's you can't grind your way past Returnal. In Dark Souls, if you really wanted, you could grind over and over again and just overpower your character and just brute force your way. With Returnal, you have to have some Twitch shooter skills. It's like it's more arcadey. So I feel like Returnal, just in terms of skill, like just raw skill, you need to have it. Like it demands it, right? Like you can't sidestep it. With Dark Souls games, don't get me wrong, if you're not willing to farm and grind, you need the skill. But if you really can't develop the skill in Souls games, you can kind of sidestep it by just grinding. You know, it can take forever, but you can do it. So we also have Devakin, you're saying, it's mind-blowing how you all acknowledge a questionable meta score like Returnal, but not others like Days Gone. Sounds like goalpost moving. Now, when you say questionable, are you implying that Returnal got a higher score than it deserves? Because I'm going to tell you right now, all right, I'm going to tell you right now, I agree with the Metacritic score for one simple fact. I want you to think about the fundamentals of a video game. When it comes to the fundamentals of a video game, what needs to be there? I mean, before anything else, what needs to be there? It needs to be good to play. It needs to be fun to play. It needs to feel good to play. Everything else can fall short. The presentation, the graphics, all that stuff can fall short, but the gameplay needs to be sound. And to me, and this is another reason why it's like, I feel like Ghost should have been higher. The gameplay in Returnal is as sound as it gets, dude. It's tight. It's fast-paced. Like, there's a reason why it's being called Doom third person. That's why. Now, you might not like the roguelike aspect of it. You might not like the difficulty of it or the learning curve. You might not like the visual aesthetic of it, which I don't see why you wouldn't. It looks really good. But you got to respect the fundamental here. You got to respect what it all comes down to. And that is, hey, is the game fun to play? Is it a good game? Now, that's why I also believe that like a game like Halo Infinite, even though we need to be harder on it because of its Halo and the expectation is just going to be much higher than a game like Returnal, I do believe if Halo Infinite drops and the gameplay is just really, really good, it still looks visually unimpressive, maybe potentially, but the gameplay is just good, then it deserves a high score because that's what matters, man. Like, gameplay is king. It really is. But this is where things get murky because it's like, well, what are the expectations? Do the expectations for a game like Ghost of Tsushima, are they inherently higher than, our expectations for a game like Returnal? I think the answer to that is yes. And I think that does play a role in the way these critics do their stuff. I mean, if people went into Returnal with the same expectations they went into with like God of War or The Last of Us 2, then it's like Returnal's going to get a lower score. Just period. Because it's hard because they're just different games. And I guess I'm just trying to say, like, I'm not trying to fanboy for Returnal. I'm just saying it's fun, dude, and it's addicting. And it's like when you think about playing a game, like, the idea of playing a game, what's the most important to you? I mean, it's ultimately subjective. But for me, it's the gameplay. It's why I sit here and I still call The Last of Us 2 S tier, because it's like, even though I didn't enjoy the story, dude, the gameplay in The Last of Us was incredible, visceral, intense, brutal. And I can't wait for the multiplayer because the gameplay is king, dude. The gameplay is king. Devakin, you're saying lots of unknown pages, giving it a 100 with bugs. So the whole thing about the bugs, I'm not going to lie to you, man. I have probably 4 to 5 hours into it so far. I haven't experienced, there's actually only one bug I've experienced, and it was kind of annoying. And it was, I boosted up to a malignant chest and I got stuck. And the only way I could get unstuck was by opening the chest. And I didn't want to open it because I didn't want it, but I did. And yeah, that kind of messed me up a little bit, but that's it. That's all in my 4 to 5 hours. That's the only bug I've experienced. And I've experienced no crashes as well, just to let everybody know. Siler, again, you're saying some games got 10s and didn't deserve it. The Last of Us definitely is a 10 in my opinion. GTA 5 is not. I think GTA 5 is a 10. I just feel like you give Rockstar the 10 for just the absurdity of how incredible the open world is, in my opinion. Like, I feel like there's a lot I don't like about GTA 5 these days in terms of like GTA Online and whatnot. But I think GTA 5 is easily a 10. Like what they did with the open world is superb. I'm just being honest. I mean, I feel like Rockstar Games is the 10 out of 10 guarantee of open world games. And I feel like Naughty Dog is the 10 out of 10 guarantee of linear games. That's how I see it. Saying Red Dead 2 is way better. I mean, I agree. But when you think about the time gap, you have to consider when GTA 5 released versus when Red Dead 2 released. You would assume Red Dead's going to be significantly better. Red Dead's also a 10. They're both 10s. But yeah, so, just to kind of, we do have more topics we're going to discuss, guys, and don't worry, these upcoming topics are going to be fun. But just to kind of wrap this up, okay, because I spent like an hour and 15 minutes on this. In my opinion, Sony, just got to say it again because it's fun. Sony slaps them. Sony smacks them. Sony smacks them all upside their head, all the doubters, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing because I just wanted Sony to do what they do best. And I didn't want Sony to shut people up by doing some kind of panic response. I wanted Sony to shut people up, all the haters and the people who are just running wild. I wanted them to shut them up with just by doing what they do best, and that is just show the games, man. Just show the games and let the games shut everybody up. And that's exactly what they did. And I'm very, very happy for that. So, this should kind of, we see this happen again. It's kind of cyclical where it's like the doubters come in, the black clouds move in, the doubt snowball starts to grow. The snowball effect kicks in, and then Sony just kicks the door down and they're like, yeah, no. And everybody's reminded like, oh, wait, yeah. And I just feel like at what point are these guys going to realize, like, I guess just take your shots while you can, but you're just setting yourself up for some kind of failure, Let's see. E-Man2537, you're saying, how can you say Halo wasn't graphically pleasing during the Xbox reveal, but the controls and gameplay looks tight, but then say what you just said about Returnal? Well, again, that's why I'm trying to say, look, I think the gameplay of Halo Infinite actually looked perfectly fine. To me, it looked a little bit like... I don't fault what they're doing with Halo Infinite's gameplay because it seems like they're just trying to go with what the community has been requesting, which is kind of go back to the basics of what made Halo gameplay great. So I don't have a problem with that. I think you're not fully understanding what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that Returnal versus Halo Infinite, Housemarque versus 343, a new up-and-coming AAA studio this is their first proper attempt at a true AAA game versus a studio that's been here, given multiple chances with the biggest possible budgets known to gaming, in the gaming industry. They're just like, if you want to sit here and say that the visual quality of Returnal should be the same or better than Halo, I think you're insane. I think you're insane because they can both be great games to play, and that is truly what matters at the end of the day more than anything. If Halo is a fun game to play, then a good game is a good game is a good game. But it's just, people have a right, in my opinion, when they see Halo Infinite after 5 years of development, knowing how the expectation of Halo Infinite, they absolutely have a right to be like, this kind of looks not good and not impressive. This doesn't look next gen, To whereas I feel like people certainly have a right to be a little bit more lenient on Housemarque. And to be honest, I think Housemarque did a good job. Returnal does look really good, but it's just the visual quality of a game like Halo Infinite should be better and significantly higher than the visual quality of a game like Returnal. Just like the visual quality of Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok should be significantly higher than the visual quality of Returnal because we are comparing two very different types of studios. It's as simple as that with two very different budgets. That's all I'm trying to say, dude. Don't get me wrong. Gameplay is ultimately king. It's ultimately king. But there are just, there's nuance behind all of this, guys. You know, I mean, we could try our best to keep the same energy across every single game and every single developer and every single publisher, but that's just not how it works. You can't keep the same energy. You can't. It's just impossible. There has to be nuance to it. There has to be certain give and take, you know, certain factors that we can't just simply ignore. And that's just how it is. It's the reason why the expectation for GTA 6 has reached like Half-Life 3 proportions, where it's like, we may never see GTA 6 because of how high the expectations are. Because the chances of them really doing exactly what people are expecting, it's like, it's so absurdly high, and it's almost not fair, you know? Just like Naughty Dog, man. Like, are we really going to say that the expectation for Returnal, are we going to say that the expectation for Ratchet and Clank, and this is not a knock. You know what? No, that's actually that's a bad example, because I think, I don't know, man. Insomniac Games is really proving themselves. I need to think of the proper studio here. Let me think. Okay, are we really going to sit here and say that our expectations for Sony Ben's next game is going to be the same as what our expectation is for Naughty Dog's next game? Like, are we really going to say that? We're not, because it's not. It's just not, you know? Basically what I'm trying to say is, once a studio or an IP proves to be very successful, it can go downhill very easily. So that's all I'm trying to say. Easter Island, Islander, you're saying Rockstar should buy the Cyberpunk license and give us a proper experience. I agree. If you're going to make an open world Cyberpunk game, Rockstar should be the one to do it, not CD Projekt Red. Dude, really quick, just one last thing about CD Projekt Red. Did you guys hear, this was like a couple of months ago, I think, at this point, or maybe a couple of weeks ago, but they kind of came out and talked to investors about how they're going to approach game development going forward, and how they're still going to like try to balance multiple projects at once. And I'm just like, do you guys learn nothing? Like, do you learn nothing? It's crazy. They, like, CD Projekt Red was like, dude, we're going to make a standalone AAA Cyberpunk multiplayer game. Yeah, we're going to do that. And it's like, well, I guess you're really confident that Cyberpunk's going to be good. And it's like, yeah, we are. It's like, now they had to cancel that game. I don't know, man. Brett Williams, you're saying, steak. I am hungry, dude. So stop talking about food. E-Man, you're saying, but you said visuals shouldn't matter if gameplay is good. You moved the goalpost. Now it's give and take. Well, look, I'm not moving the goalpost, man. Like, you have to understand that. I want you to understand that, to me, gameplay is, personally, I'm only speaking for me, gameplay is always more important than visuals. I mean, I want the good visuals. I do. You know, I would love for Returnal to look as amazing visually as, say, you know, like Ratchet and Clank. I mean, they're two very different art styles, but, you know, like Horizon, I would. But I know that's asking too much. Like, that's something that doesn't happen from a smaller team like Housemarque. It just doesn't. And that's okay. It doesn't have to. Maybe their next game will be the game that does it. The gameplay is more important. I'm just trying to let you know that Halo Infinite, I will tell people, if you think Halo Infinite looks like a good game to play, gameplay-wise, play it. We're still going to make fun of it, okay? We're still going to make fun of Craig, and we're still going to always look at that gameplay demo and be like, that doesn't look next gen, but that doesn't matter if you think the game looks fun to play, okay? But you're going to sit here and try to tell me that the expectation for Halo Infinite, its first proper gameplay showcase, them bragging about a new engine, you're really going to sit here and try to tell me that the expectation wasn't higher than what we saw with Returnal? Returnal's a new IP. Returnal's an unknown quantity, and therefore it has more leeway. It just does. If you want to compare two games, let's compare Horizon and Halo Infinite. Two very big AAA games by very well-established studios who've had a lot of experience, many opportunities to work on AAA games. If Horizon comes out and doesn't melt people's faces visually, it's going to get condemned for it. It just simply will. Even though you know the gameplay is going to be amazing, but if it doesn't melt people's faces, it's going to get condemned. And I think it's going to melt people's faces. That's the expectation. So it would be okay if Horizon doesn't look let's just say Ratchet looks more visually impressive than Horizon, like significantly so, then I would be okay if people started kind of criticizing Guerrilla a little bit and be like, wait, like, is this because you made it cross-gen? Like, this should look more impressive. Yeah, those would be valid criticisms. Does it mean it's going to be any less of a good game? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Gameplay is king, man. It always will be. I mean, we can get into the nitty-gritty of pixels and this and that. It's like, you always got to remember. I think that anybody who plays video games, that's honestly, I'm not telling you how you should feel or how you should think, but I'm just saying I think it's a good idea to always kind of keep gameplay at the center of gravity, you know, and everything else just kind of revolves around it. Samson, you're saying I want 50 pounds of juicy barbecue ribs. Stop, man. You're not being cool right now. I'm really hungry, and you're just making it worse. E-Man, you're saying just busting your chops, brother. Love the channel. God bless. Well, thank you, man. I mean, look, that's a valid, you know, thing you brought up. I'm not trying to go super defensive. I'm just trying to explain. That's all. Like, I'm trying to explain that it's a nuanced conversation. It's not something that's just like, here's a one sentence answer and it's the be all end all. By the way, guys, we have over 1,000 people here watching and hanging out with me, which is awesome. I really appreciate you guys being here. Do me a big favor. Hit that like button. We're just at about 500 likes. I'm pretty sure we could easily get to 600 likes. And I'm also feeling that we could definitely get to 700 likes, no problem. So please do me a big favor. Hit that like button. Can we get to 700 likes? I think we definitely can. It helps the podcast out tremendously. Saying JT, you're saying, my grandma asked me who I'm watching. I told her Papa MBG. She said, who's that? She proceeded to get suplexed. She now knows who you are. Dude, stop suplexing your grandmother, man. That's not good. That's not good. I don't advocate for that. That's not good. I mean, I appreciate you trying to spread the good word of who MVG is, but geez, man, come on. That's your grandmother. That's funny. That's really funny. All right, guys. All right. So this next topic, if you enjoyed the first topic, I think you're really going to enjoy this next topic. Mr. Hamster, you're saying, hey, man, what's up, MVG? What's going on, dude? What's going on? It's nice to see you here again. You've been here for quite some time. Always tuning in for the rants, huh? So yeah, this next topic, as my voice just severely cracks. All right, this one I'm going to have fun with. So we're going to talk about a tweet that Colin Moriarty put out that I responded to because I just found his tweet interesting. All right, now let me find it on my Twitter. Some of you may already know what I'm talking about here. So give me a second to find it. I should have had it up already, but it's not too far back. It definitely caused a lot of conversation. Thank you for that, Jerry. I appreciate the $5 super chat, man. Okay, all right, here we go. So Colin Moriarty put out a tweet on April 28th, and I like Colin Moriarty, by the way. I've seen that there's like some controversy going on with him and whatnot, and I'm just like, dude, I've been listening to Colin Moriarty since like 2012. Like, the dude's legit. Okay, you don't have to like agree with everything he says, and I'm not saying he's like, I don't even agree with everything he says, but like, I'm just tired of people like trying to paint this guy as like some terrible human being. Like, he's not, man. He's a good dude. Like, you can tell he has passion, he has heart, and he's definitely opinionated. And if anything, that's why I like him and I respect that, you know. But he's not a bullshitter, you know. And I appreciate that more than anything with people. So that's why I like Colin Moriarty, because he'll just give it to you straight, man. And he doesn't care if what he has to say pisses you off. He's going to say it. And I like that. You know, we need more of that, because that's how you get to, that's how you keep the same energy, man. Like, people got to be real. Anyway, I'm only saying that. I'm trying to preface this by letting you know, like, I don't have a problem with what he tweeted. I just think it's very interesting. So he says, PlayStation Studio buys since 2011. Sucker Punch and Insomniac Games. Okay. Then he says Xbox Studio buys since 2011. Mojang, Undead Labs, Playground Games, Obsidian, Ninja Theory, In Exile, Double Fine, Compulsion Games, id, Machine Games, Tango Gameworks, Roundhouse, ZeniMax Online, Arcane, Bethesda Game Studios. And yeah, two very different lists, right? And I quote tweeted this, and I pissed a lot of Xbox dudes off, okay? And I said, it's crazy that I look at this and I think to myself, wow, I would gladly take Sucker Punch and Insomniac Games over all of those studios combined. That's not a shot. That's not a shot at those Xbox studios, but it's a compliment to just how damn good those two PlayStation studios are. And that's the thing here. I'm not trying to make it sound like we have to choose, because we don't. We don't. A lot, and I followed this up by saying that even though I said this was not a shot at Xbox studios, that's how a lot of people took it. I said I'm looking forward to a lot of games coming from a lot of these different studios, and I think some people missed the point. And the point is, I'm only speaking for me, and that's another thing, is like people are basically, they're taking what I said as, oh, these studios are better. No, in my opinion, I think Insomniac Games and Sucker Punch, they outclass all of those studios listed. Now, you could argue, if you say to me, well, dude, I would rather have all of those studios combined than those two, I could entertain that argument, because it's like, yeah, that's a lot of studios and a lot of games, and a lot of those games are probably going to be good. I don't know how many of those games are going to be on the same quality level that you would get from a studio like Sucker Punch or a studio like Insomniac. I don't know that you would. You're saying id and Tango are better? Dude, id's okay. Id, I could see that argument with like Doom, but Tango, no. I'm just being honest. Like, dude, nothing against Tango, but they're not, like, no. Their games are good, but come on, man. And I just, it was interesting to me how frustrated and pissed off people got at me for saying that. And I think what people also misunderstood is that I'm not saying that I would just want those two studios and only those. I was saying that under the assumption that these, Sucker Punch and Insomniac on top of Sony's other studios. You know what I mean? But I don't know, man. Like, to me, it's easy to say that because I've said it many times before. I'm just not a big fan of Bethesda. To be honest, like, let me look at this list again. The studios that are listed here, the studio purchases that Microsoft made that interest me with the games that they have coming. Undead Labs with State of Decay 3. Do I think after playing State of Decay 2 that State of Decay 3 is going to be some mind-blowingly high-quality, amazing game that stands up there with games like, The Last of Us? No. Or even Days Gone, potentially, maybe. But I don't think so. But I'm still excited for their next game nonetheless. I do have high expectations for it. I want it to do well. So I'm excited for Undead Labs. Playground Games is making Fable. I'm up in the air with it. Like, I can't say I'm like super excited for Fable because I've never played the other Fable games, but I'm excited at the fact that it seems like they're going all in with really trying to do something big with it. And because of that, I'm like, okay. Now, apparently Fable is many years away. If rumors are to be believed, apparently it's like not even close to being anywhere finished. So it sounds like we're going to have to wait a while for that one. Obsidian. I mean, I know that it looks like they're making their own Elder Scrolls of some sort. I don't care. Like, I don't like the Elder Scrolls. So not excited. Nothing against them. I'm not a fan of Obsidian. That's all. Like, I've just never really played or got into their games. Ninja Theory. I'm 100% excited for Hellblade 2. And honestly, out of every single studio on this list, I think Ninja Theory has the most potential to make a game that can actually compete with the type of games that Sony makes. I think Hellblade 2 has that potential to basically come off as like a holy crap. This is like a AAA, like single player, story driven, amazing cinematic experience that I could easily, like, this feels like a game I should have gotten through PlayStation Studios. That's the game that I'm most excited about. And I think that Ninja Theory is the most potential. In Exile, I don't care, you know? Again, it's nothing against them. I just don't care. Like, I've never played a game from In Exile, and I never really had any plans to. Double Fine. I don't care. I'm sorry. I just don't care, dude. Like, like that. I remember when they announced Double Fine, and I'm like, okay. Like, that's cool, I guess. Like, I'm just not, that doesn't excite me. Compulsion, they're kind of weird because, like, their last game was We Happy Few, and it really wasn't that good. But, like, there is potential there. But Compulsion, I'm sorry. Like, dude, Compulsion, okay, let me put it to you this way. If Sucker Punch is an S tier studio, or even an A+ tier, Compulsion's like a C tier. They just are, you know? Let me see what other studios are here. So we have id Software. So I think id Software is one of the studios on this list that definitely has like more prestige, and that could probably get closer to holding a candle to one of these two studios. So I think id, you know, they're definitely a studio that I could see people being like, no, I'd prefer id, you know. Machine Games. So I think they're kind of 50-50 at this point. I think you're saying id Software is their MVP. Yeah, I could see that. You're saying you like We Happy Few. I'm not saying We Happy Few is bad. I'm just saying it's like it lacked that triple A-ness. I just said anus. Triple anus. It lacked that triple anus. It needs that triple anus. But it really did lack that triple A type of polish that a game like, I think, We Happy Few, if it had that, it could have been much better than it actually was. So Machine Game, yeah, that was a pretty good one, right? Machine Games. So from, oh, dude, the comments right now. The you guys are messing me all up here. The triple anus, dude. That's gonna have to be that's gonna have to be merch. That's gonna have to be merch now. At this point, we just made a thing. We just made a meme. Yeah. Okay, so let's continue on here because we're very serious here. So, Machine Games. So, I actually never really got into the Wolfenstein games, but they always did kind of interest me. I heard really bad things about the last Wolfenstein game. In fact, the last Wolfenstein game, for most people, I was told it could be summed up with one word, and that word is cringe. So, for those who played it, please let me know what you think. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Triple anus merch. Yes, we're going to have to make that a thing. And you know what? It's going to be funny because people are going to come to my channel. They're going to be like, I don't know what this channel is about. Just based off the merch alone. And I'm usually pretty serious in my videos. Like I'm, you know, and so it's like, it's going to kind of, yeah, we'll have to make that a thing. I love how with the podcast, we always come up with this like inside stuff, you know? I probably should get more creative with my merch though and have more fun with it. What have you done, MBG? Dude, that's exactly what I'm thinking right now. What have I done? We have Cortex. You're saying, hey, MBG, don't forget that most of Sony studios have grown enough to handle 2 IPs at a time now. So after these current games, we will have more within a year or two. Lots of games to come. Yeah, dude, I've been talking about that for some time now, man. I've been saying for a good while that, you know, the way that Sony is planning to combat the quantity of games that Microsoft is going to have from all these studios is all of their AAA studios are going to start, you know, they're going to become 2 project teams. If they are already, most of them. It's not an easy thing to do, but I think Sony can do it. I know for a fact Sony's willing to put the money and time into making that a reality. But the toughest part about having your studios split in half like that is having enough talent in specific areas where it's needed. They can be spread pretty thin, and also the size of these games, it's like one project is going to have to take a back seat while the other gets the priority treatment, you know? Oh man, I'm looking at my chat. What did I start by saying that? Jeez. All right, so yeah, guys, let me know. Sony's new tagline should be, we have the triple anus. We have the triple anus that Microsoft lacks. Yeah, dude. This is the highlight of the podcast. This is the highlight of the podcast. But yeah, so real quick, we're talking about machine games. For those who have played the Wolfenstein games, is that true? Is it true that the last Wolfenstein game was actually like pretty terrible compared to the others? Because I feel like this just kind of goes all in with the narrative of like, Bethesda kind of lost their way. Bethesda kind of lost their way. And I feel like this podcast is definitely going to get demonetized, by the way. You're saying it wasn't good and it was cringy. Yeah. Look at the Metacritic. I don't know what the Metacritic is. Is it low? I mean, look, I just, I think people are just not, they want me to be as excited as them. And it's like, I can't be. Like, I can't be, It's like, you want me to lie and say that I've been a fan of Bethesda games when I really haven't been. You want me to lie and say that I wouldn't choose Sucker Punch and Insomniac over all these studios? I'm not going to lie. I mean, don't get me wrong. I can understand why you would choose all these studios over Sucker Punch and Insomniac, but I just don't think, I just don't think that most people would. Oh, geez. I feel like my chat is like doomed forever now. At least we got away from the feet pics thing though, right? Where's Sir Speaks a Lot? He didn't show up today. But all right, and then so after that we have Tango Gameworks. So to me, Tango Gameworks is one that stands out. I said it before, I'll say it again. I love The Evil Within. I wish that we would be getting The Evil Within 3 exclusively on PlayStation, timed exclusive, rather than Ghostwire Tokyo. Ghostwire Tokyo doesn't look bad, but it's just, I would have preferred like an Evil Within 3. Dude, The Evil Within 2, very underrated game. Very good game. And I think Tango has a lot of potential. But I don't know that I would trade Sucker Punch for Tango. I don't know that I would trade Insomniac for Tango. I don't think I would. But I mean, it depends. Like if they ever make an Evil Within 3, we'll have to see, man. Roundhouse, I don't know who they are. I don't know who they are. ZeniMax Online, I don't care. Arcane. So Arcane is one that like, I feel like Arcane is a studio that's kind of like what Sucker Punch used to be before Ghost of Tsushima, where it's like they make good games, but their games aren't like they're not like that S tier. They're like A tier, like B and A tier games. I think that's what they are. That's how I see them. So again, like I think that they're one of the better studios here. And then we have Bethesda Game Studios. So look, Bethesda Game Studios is obviously the colossal giant here. And if I cared about Fallout, if I loved Fallout, if I loved Elder Scrolls, then I would probably sit here and say that, oh yeah, all these studio purchases that Microsoft made are better. But, I think that people just got really worked up. They got really worked up about this, and I can understand why, but I think that it's just one of these things where it's like, I'm not trying to speak for everybody. I'm just speaking for myself, Some people might think I'm insane, but I don't know. The good news is we don't have to choose though, and that's the best part about this. We do not have to choose. We do not have to choose. And Munor, you're saying, what is Microsoft doing with their studios? Some of them Microsoft has owned for years and nothing has come out. While Sony studios have all the resources and creative space to make their games. So I'm glad you mentioned this because I kind of want to, with keeping in line and talking about the studios. Look, I can't say that I have the inside track because I just don't. Like, I don't know exactly how things are run at Microsoft or Sony. All we can really do, those of us who are on the outside looking in, we can just look at the final products and we can look at the reports and we can look at the news and we can listen to the rumors and we can read the reports. I keep talking about this because I'm just so curious, man. Like, I'm just so curious. It seems like to me, for pretty much almost as long as Xbox has existed, and especially with the Xbox One generation going into this generation, they have just had some serious management struggles. And I feel like we need to highlight that because look at Cyberpunk. You want to look at the epitome of like how much damage bad management can do to a product, to a video game, to something that has an insurmountable amount of potential and then just completely squander it all. I'm not saying that Microsoft is that bad, but I keep focusing on this because, as I told you, you're saying I'm not bald. I'm actually going to shave my head soon. I got to groom myself. If you can't tell, I'm letting everything kind of just grow out a little bit. But I keep focusing on this because we're so close to being 1 year away, where it's like now it's Microsoft's chance again, right? I can't get over like Halo Infinite being like, I can't get over the fact that the management over there at Microsoft, they seemingly were blindsided. That's what I can't get over. I can maybe understand how maybe Matt Booty and Phil Spencer, they saw this gameplay demonstration for Halo Infinite and they're like, yeah, I think this is good enough. I could see that. That's not shocking. What's shocking is the fact that it kind of like there was so much backlash so quickly. They were like, oh my God, like we weren't ready for this. We had marketing campaigns and everything ready to go. We got to delay this. I'm glad they delayed it. But what I'm trying to say is what's even more important than the studios and the talent within these studios themselves is the way they're managed, the way they're handled. Because you can have, it's just like having all the money in the world. You can have all the money in the world. That's not going to necessarily produce results. That's just one part of the puzzle. It's one piece of the puzzle. It's an important piece, but it's not the puzzle, right? I feel like the same can be said for talent. And I feel like if Microsoft really has become very serious about buying talent, I mean, guys, do you remember what's his name? Somebody's going to have to tell me. Let me read the super chat real quick. Cortex, you're saying, I believe, as you said, Sony can manage double projects. Insomniac alone proves this with Ratchet and Clank 2016, Spider-Man 2018, Miles Morales in 2020, and now Ratchet and Clank ripped apart in 2021. 2-year gap average. Yeah, dude, that's why I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's the goal for every Sony studio. And Insomniac seems to be very good at it. Very good at it. I think that's one of the reasons why Sony bought them. What was the guy's name who he was part of the Initiative studio at Microsoft making the Perfect Dark reboot, and then he left after 2 years to rejoin Insomniac Games? Somebody tell me his name. I'm forgetting it. I'm waiting for that to pop up. Drew Murray. There we go. Thank you, guys. Drew Murray. Thank you, David. And yeah. So Drew Murray, I found that very interesting. Okay, because this was an individual, and we've seen this happen multiple times, actually. If you guys have noticed, a lot of talented individuals are coming back to PlayStation because it seems to me that the most important thing that PlayStation has figured out, and I say figured out because it's something that takes time, and this is where you got to give Sony the credit that they put in their dues. They made their mistakes and they learned from them. It seems that Sony has figured out how to properly manage their studios, but more importantly, also to put in place the leadership that's necessary to enable that. Like, that's the most difficult thing, man. Like, the reason why Halo Infinite failed to impress anybody, I don't believe it was a lack of talent. I don't believe, I mean, it could be, but I think more than anything, it's just a lack of management. I mean, it could be a lack of creativity. It could be a lack of talent. All these things maybe go hand in hand. When you take a couple of these things and mash them together, that's when you get disastrous games and projects. But it seems to me that Sony really has figured out how to truly put the necessary pieces in place to make the puzzle come together as smoothly and as efficiently as possible. Now, that doesn't mean Sony's perfect. It doesn't mean that they don't run into issues. Of course they do. A lot of the stuff we don't hear about. But I feel like it's what you see in the final product. And not even just the final product, but like when they come out and they're like, all right, we're going to show you what we've been working on. Like that is so important because it tells you almost everything you need to know about what's going on. And you pretty much ask, like, what is Microsoft doing with their studios? I don't know, dude. My hope is that they're letting them do what they need to do, because the truth is, you could say, oh, studios need complete autonomy. They need complete freedom and not an unlimited amount of time, but as much time as they feel that they need. And these are all super idealistic things that, like, yes, these things are great, but a lot of times you'll find that that's actually not going to solve the problem, and that's not going to change the outcome, because there's other problems that are actually getting in the way. You know what I mean? Like, it's a whole big machine that works together, and every part needs to be working in tandem. Every part needs to be well-oiled and working smoothly. And if it doesn't, it's just not going to come together. I'm not a game developer, but frankly, you don't need to be a game developer to know this. You just have to have some real world experience. And frankly, you just have to have a little bit of insight into what making big projects of any sort is like. It's a huge undertaking and it's not easy. And that's why, like, I try my best to give Microsoft as much benefit of the doubt as I can, because it's like they have the money to make it happen. They just got to do it right. Like they have to put the right people in the right positions and everything. And I think that that's a big reason why Microsoft bought Bethesda, because they're like, you know what? We need more. We need more. And the great thing about I don't know if this is a great thing. We're going to find out, because can we all agree that Bethesda has kind of fallen from grace in recent years in a big way? So I don't know if it's great, but I think one of the biggest reasons Microsoft was like, we're going to buy Bethesda rather than buy more smaller studios, is because Bethesda is autonomous. Okay, they're going to do their own thing. They're just going to be doing it under Microsoft. I think that's going to help Microsoft. It's either going to help or hurt them. I think that they have damaged their reputation, Bethesda, and I think that, they're in recent years, it's kind of like they've fallen from grace, where it's like they seem to have management issues of their own. They have, I remember for years it was all about how like anti-consumer they were with Fallout 76 and stuff like that. And I'm just like, maybe they've changed, but I don't know, man. I guess just to kind of wrap all this up, yes, I would choose Sucker Punch and Insomniac Games over all of those studios combined. Luckily, I don't have to choose. I can have both. But I'm just saying, if it was gun to my head, I have to choose. I'm not putting my faith in all those studios. I'm just not. I will put my faith in a single game. Like, I will take Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart and Spider-Man Miles Morales and Spider-Man 2 and Ghost of Tsushima and Ghost of Tsushima 2 and that new multiplayer game that Sucker Punch is working on. I will take all those games over anything from all those studios. And the only game, frankly, listed from those studios that I would maybe consider trying to trade up with is Hellblade 2. And that's about it. That's just the truth, man. It's just the truth. That's what quality does. That's what a quality gaming experience does. I really got to start using my Press X podcast mug. I don't know why I don't. I just use this big ass red mug. All right. So we do have, you're saying Bethesda just updated their engine once Starfield drops with Microsoft's backing. It's over. Well, that's the thing, man. It's their time to shine. I want that to be known. It's their time to shine. Like, I don't doubt that. Everybody's been saying that the reason why they're called Bugthesda is because they need to update their engine, and that's just something that's desperately been needed for years. So let's wait and see. Okay, I'm not convinced. You're saying when's the new merch, MBG? Hopefully soon. I'm going to have my Rant Juice merch out probably by the next podcast, so stay tuned for that. All right, one more time, guys. Hit that like button, because we're going to move on to the next topic, which I know a lot of you have been mentioning. We're going to talk about the fact that Konami was going to be part of E3 2021, and now they're not. And this is incredibly interesting to me due to the timing of all of this, okay? So let's kind of zoom out and talk about how this all came to be. So there have been rumors for a long time of a Silent Hill reboot, of a Metal Gear Solid remake, and Konami doing something with Sony. We all know this. But now, more recently, there have been rumors that Konami has been apparently in talks with Microsoft. And this is like recently. Apparently, they were in talks with Microsoft for something. A lot of people are thinking it might be Metal Gear related. Obviously, this is concerning to anybody like myself who prefers the PlayStation platform and loves Metal Gear. But I think, if Microsoft got a chance at Metal Gear, I don't know who would make it. I don't know who would make that game, man. That would be the most concerning part to me, is who's making this game. But I digress here. So I'm not going to lie. Like, we had, the announcement about like 2 weeks ago that E3 2021 is a thing. It's happening, and they listed all of the major publishers that are going to be there. Microsoft was listed. Sony was not. Not a surprise. Sony was not listed. Konami was listed. So both Microsoft and Konami were listed. And people found it interesting that Konami was listed because they're like, oh, okay. Like, they haven't really attended E3, And to me, it was interesting because, like, at the same time that we're finding out that both Microsoft and Konami are going to be at E3 this year, we're also hearing these rumors come out that apparently Microsoft is in talks with Konami. Now Konami has come out and they have pulled out of E3. And I want to read to you their statement because I find it very telling. Very telling. So the fact that Konami's not going to be at E3 means that nothing Konami related will be showing up at E3. Okay? So anything that... It's weird to me that they were going to be there and now they're just not. It almost sounds like negotiations between Microsoft and Konami, if they were a thing, fell through. Now, I could be reading into that way too much, but don't you just find that a little strange? 1 week, oh, we'll be there at E3 with Microsoft. The next week, we're not going to be at E3. It's a little weird, right? It's a little sus. All right, so let me read to you what Konami had to say. Due to the timing, we will not be ready to present at E3 this year. We want to reassure fans that we are in deep development on a number of key projects, so please stay tuned for some updates in the coming months. While we are not participating this year, we have great respect for the ESA and know that 2021 will be a great success. We will continue to support the ESA and wish the best to all participants at this year's show. So, you read the first sentence and you're like, oh, I guess they're just not going to show anything this year. I mean, they say we will not be ready to present at E3. But then right after that, they say that they're in deep development with key projects, okay? And then they say, please stay tuned for some updates in the coming months. So coming months, May, June, July, okay? All months where major announcements happen. So maybe I'm trying too hard to connect the dots here, but it's just very interesting to me. Like, there's two things I'm holding on to here. One, Sony's not going to be at E3. They're going to have their own event. And we don't know when this event's going to be. We're all assuming Sony's next event is going to be in June. It might not be. It might come later in July. In fact, it might be better for them to do it later in July because in June, they could just have Ratchet and Clank carry them, let everybody else come out, show all their stuff, make everybody disappointed because Sony's not doing anything and everybody's all doom and gloom again, and then just have all the attention to themselves in July, and it would also be beneficial because it could give teams more time, but I'm holding on to that. Sony's not going to be at E3, one of the only major publishers that's not, apparently. First part, Nintendo's going to be there, Microsoft's going to be there. Sony's like, nope, we don't need you. Sony's going to do their own thing. And then Konami says, well, we're not going to be there either. Why? Oh, we're not going to be ready. Okay, but we do have multiple projects in the works, and we're going to update you in the coming months. So I'm just confused. Like, I'm getting conflicting vibes from Konami here. It sounds to me like Konami's basically just saying we're not going to be at E3 and we're not going to show anything there. They're saying because it's not going to be ready. I don't believe that. Because if that was true, why would you then say, but we have multiple projects in development and we're going to update you in the coming months? What do you mean update us? Like, you're making it sound like you already announced stuff. As far as I know, you haven't announced anything significant. So those updates are going to be the announcements of whatever these projects are. Am I wrong about this? Unless, is this Konami just screwing with us And they're they're kind of making it sound like this already was announced through the leaks, right? The wording of it, for as intentional as it is so conflicting. And to me, it spells something out. And I could be wrong, and I expect to be wrong. You're saying, wasn't it announced that Konami was going to be there a few weeks ago? Yes, it was. You're right. It was. Konami was supposed to be at E3. Now they're saying because of timing, they won't be able to. You know what I think? I think it's obvious. I think Konami's going to show up at Sony's event. That's what I think. I think that there may have been, and I don't know that this part's so obvious, but I think that there were negotiations between Microsoft and Konami. And when those negotiations broke down, Konami's like, you know what? Why would we, like, we don't have enough to show on our own at E3. We were going to show at Microsoft. I don't know. I could be wrong. But, you know, there were rumors about a Metal Gear Solid game potentially. Microsoft striking a deal with Konami, not necessarily a Metal Gear remake, but like a new Metal Gear game. Guys, look, I understand that there are a lot of people who feel like we don't want a Metal Gear Solid game if it's not made by Kojima. I don't feel that way. I just don't. You know why? Because Kojima's made it clear that he's just done with Metal Gear. He wants to do other stuff. Do I think that means Metal Gear should rest forever? No, I don't. I think that it would be perfectly fine, with Kojima's blessing, of course, that, you know, another studio get a chance. But the question is, who? Who would get that chance? So when we hear that apparently there's rumors that Microsoft might be striking a deal with Konami to make a Metal Gear Solid game, please tell me what studio under Microsoft makes that game and it's not a train wreck. Please tell me, because I can't think of any. When you think about the type of game Metal Gear Solid is and what it's known for, I can't think of any. I can't think of any Microsoft studio. I've seen people be like, oh, Microsoft is going to buy Konami. Like, of course, they're going to buy everybody. The Initiative, well, we don't know. Ninja Theory, maybe. Maybe Ninja Theory is the only one. Arcane, I don't know. Coalition, saying, want to super chat you, MBG, but it's not available in my region. Love your channel. Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know, man. I'm not saying that no studios under Microsoft could do Metal Gear justice, but I think Metal Gear in general, it's already very particular where it's like, dude, I know people are going to think I'm biased for saying this, but would Sony studios not fit perfectly for Metal Gear? I mean, not every Sony studio, but, you know, like, what about Naughty Dog making a Metal Gear Solid game? You know, what about, I mean, hell, I'd even say Sony Santa Monica. I mean, I know that God of War is a far cry from Metal Gear gameplay, but when you look at the way Sony Santa Monica married storytelling and amazing gameplay, you know, the narrative-driven experience. I don't know, man. I feel like Metal Gear Solid is one of those games where it's like, it is a single player, very narrative driven experience. Like it is, the story is almost everything in that game, right? And like Sony Studios, what are they known for? You see what I'm saying? What are Microsoft Studios known for? Not that. So Xbox want a multiplayer MGS. I'm not gonna lie. If they went that route, I'd be for it. Give me a multiplayer Metal Gear. Just out of morbid curiosity, not Survive, just a pure multiplayer. Let's do it. Screw it. Why not? I'm curious. Let's just see what happens. Imagine Todd Howard's Metal Gear. I don't want to imagine that, dude. Cortex is saying, little unrelated, but people hate on things they're jealous of as a form of spite or pride. Do you feel that gamers like this are just missing out? I do. That's why I try not to like take things too far, man. Like I'm a huge Xbox doubter, but I'm not going to be like, I'm not interested in anything they're doing. Like, no, I don't want to actively make myself miss out on something that I might end up loving, you know? And I don't know why people would ever want to do that. But I do agree. It does come from a weird place of jealousy and pride. And it's like, to an extent, I can understand that because I think we all have those feelings at certain times in our life. But it's like, come on, like let's grow up a little bit here, you know? By the way, guys, hit that like button. We're so close to 700 likes. I would love to try to get to 800 likes before this podcast ends. I don't know that we're going to be able to. I mean, we have over 950 people here right now, so I think we could. I think we could, guys. You're saying the one winged angel. Imagine if FromSoft made a Castlevania game. Now, that would be amazing. That's like a match made in heaven there. So, yeah, hit that like button, guys. Let's see if we can get to 800 likes. But yeah, so I didn't want to spend too much time talking about this because, to be honest, I don't know what it means. I mean, I'm interested to know what these updates are on these projects that Konami's developing, and I want to know if they're going to come in the form of, you know, we're going to see it at Sony's show, whenever Sony's show is going to be. You know, I want to know that. I don't know that it will, but it seems likely, you know? It's almost like Konami didn't get the memo. It's like Konami thought Sony was going to be at E3 and you're like, yeah, we'll be there. And then it's like they woke up one morning like, wait, hold on. Why isn't Sony on like, we're supposed to show our stuff at Sony. Why isn't Sony going to E3? It's like, sir, they're not going to E3. It's like, oh, well, then I guess we got to pull out. You know, it's like, that's like kind of how it comes off to me, you know? Tyler, 18, you're saying, oh, I just like swallowed something. Hold on. I think I just swallowed a mustache hair. That's going to be a merch too. I swallowed a mustache hair. That sounds terrible. That's never going to be a piece of merch. We're going to end that there. We're going to shut that down immediately. Now I'm going too far. I'm going too far with these merch ideas. MBG, classy. Yeah. Triple anus mug. Yeah. Dude, that triple anus thing is going to be like the greatest thing I ever come up with, right? I think I peaked on the channel, guys. But Tyler is saying, surprised to hear The Last of Us 3 storyboard is being worked on. We should be getting that instead of this really bizarre decision to remake The Last of Us 1. To be honest, I agree. I would much rather see a third part to The Last of Us, even as somebody who didn't like the story, than another Last of Us remake. But, so mustache bound gamer. Yeah. So I was thinking about maybe going for just a mustache, just the mustache, shaving everything else, just doing the mustache. I don't know how that would look though. I've been thinking about it. Anyway, Last of Us Part 3. So I saw that too. I'm curious what you guys think. You're saying creepy, yeah. What do you guys think about a Last of Us Part 3? Like, what would you expect that to be? You know? So I have basically did you guys also hear about the alternate ending that The Last of Us Part 2 is supposed to have? I'm going to give a warning right now. If you're somebody who didn't play The Last of Us Part 2 and you don't want it spoiled, you have 5 seconds to immediately click off of the stream if you don't want to be spoiled, and you can maybe come back in a couple minutes. But I'm going to talk about it here briefly. I think most of us pretty much know. Everybody's just here. You've probably either played The Last of Us Part 2 or you know the story. But the alternate ending, apparently, The Last of Us Part 2 was, the way it ended was basically ultimate depression for Ellie, where she lost everything and she just walks away. She can't even play guitar anymore. Apparently, the ending was supposed to be she picked up like a toy that was, what was the baby's name in The Last of Us Part 2? I forget the name of it, but it was, a toy of the babies, and it was basically supposed to make it clear that that Ellie was gonna go in search of Dina and JJ. Yeah, how could I forget? It's such an easy name. And to me, I'm like, why? Like, why did you not do that? Like, that would have went such a long way, in my opinion, to making fans feel like, well, okay, like maybe the ending for Ellie doesn't have to be that depressing, right? And, it was depressing. I mean, maybe you could say that the ending they chose was just more realistic you know? But it's like, it almost feels like that ending would have made more sense from a human standpoint. And who knows, maybe that is something they want to do in the third game, you know? Maybe that is something they want to do in the third game with Ellie. They just didn't want to make it obvious, just in case they decide to change directions. But that ending to me sounds more realistic because that sounds like what Ellie would do at that moment. You know what I mean? It's like you went out for revenge, even though you know you were going to lose your partner and your child, basically. And by the end of that quest for revenge, you realize that I actually don't want this at all. Like, this is terrible. Why did I do this? And you realize you made a big mistake. It like, the next step is, yeah, you would probably go back and be like, please, like, I screwed up. Like, can we just live a normal life now? You know, I screwed up. To me, that sounds like that would have made more sense. You're saying they wanted the ending to be open for interpretation. I mean, I agree. Like, I do think that the ending was definitely more open because of what they did, but it's almost like it's so depressing. To be honest, like, the thing with the guitar really made me feel like, I mean, like, what could her next move be at this point? Because it's like there's no motive. Like, to me, it's like there's no motivation. There's no, like, there's just nothing left, in my opinion. So, like, I wouldn't, if they're like a Last of Us Part 3, I would just love to know what the outline of that story is, because to me, there's really only a couple ways you can go. And one is the next game basically just stars Abby and Lev, which I don't like Abby as a character. So, I mean, I like Lev more as a character than Abby. Abby's just really, what's the word? She's like abrasive to me, you know? I just couldn't, I'm not hating. So, here we go. Oh, I forgot. We can't have nuanced conversation. If I don't like Abby, I'm just a hater. No, I think Lev is actually a more interesting character than Abby is. Actually, one of the points in the story that I did enjoy was when you kind of started to learn more about Lev and like what was going on there. I thought that was actually pretty interesting. You're just a hater, MVG. If you're saying if she didn't kill Joel, you'd love her. To be honest, that's not why I don't like Abby. Like, it's not that. I literally just don't like Abby because the problem with me is the story. It felt like the story was trying to force me to feel for her, and it felt really forced. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I know what you're doing, and it's so obvious that I'm like getting annoyed by it. And for me, it was like, I think I preferred Lev more because they didn't really do that with Lev that much. You know, Lev was just more of an organic character that's just like, here you go. Like, here's your Ellie sidekick replacement. And it just didn't feel so forced. So what I'm trying to say, you're saying The Last of Us isn't exactly a happy game tone overall. Yeah, right. Listen to this guy. He expects a happy ending to The Last of Us 2. Not necessarily a happy ending. It's just like an ending that, like, my whole thing is, I was very surprised to hear that they have an outline for a third, because I really thought that after everything that happened with the ending of the second game between Abby and Ellie and just what happened to both of them, I mean, my only thing is, are you going to start with brand new characters? Because I'm not sure. I guess there's more that they could explore with Abby and Lev, but I'm just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's hard for me because one of the things that was really difficult for me to grasp with The Last of Us 2 is how the story attempted to basically flip how I feel about these characters that I really like entirely. Like, it's almost like the story tried to make me dislike the characters that I like. And I know, and that's like a really difficult thing to do. And it didn't work on me. It didn't work for me. And so it's like, I don't know, man. I would, if they were going to do a Last of Us 3, I would prefer it to just be brand new, just completely new people, new group, new time period, maybe even further in the future or earlier, you know, something like that. Maybe it could be like a prequel of some sort, like as it leads up to it. I'd be totally open to that. I would not be excited, frankly, for a game that just starred. You know what? I'm going to be honest. here you go. I'm gonna drop one on you. Before I do that, question mark, you're saying you should have a t-shirt in your merch line that says hold my beer. Yeah, Primal Plasma, you're saying I think Ellie will become evil and have an eye patch in The Last of Us 3. Dude, that would be comical. That would be great. I would love to see that. Just Abby become like big boss villain. Not Abby, Ellie become big boss villain. That would be the greatest thing ever, dude. Cortex, you're saying sorry to hog your post. So many chats. No, it's all right, dude. But I've got to return to the... oh, here we go. No, I take that back. To the triple anus MBG's fault of Housemark. Have a great day and game on, everyone. Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate all the super chats. Appreciate all the super chats you guys you bring in. I really do. You're saying go back to Joel and test days. Yeah, that would be interesting. I don't necessarily think that we need to... I mean, it would... You know what would be a really interesting game? Okay, here's one. I feel like in The Last of Us Part 2, Neil Druckmann wanted us to not hate Ellie, but definitely not like her as much as we did. And I will admit, he kind of succeeded in that because there's a lot of stuff that they made Ellie do in that game where I'm like, oh my God, like, come on. Like, you're making it difficult for me to be like, this is a good idea. Like, no, it's probably not. You should probably just stop, you know? But it was understandable. Like, they, you know, and they didn't, in my opinion, I don't think the game tried to demonize Joel as much as people make it sound, because I did find that when I think about the game, there was actually a lot of great moments with Joel and Ellie, and they actually did paint Joel. Like, it made me feel even worse about Joel's death because they really made you like realize like he's just a normal dude, you know? Like when you go explore Joel's house after he gets killed, it's like, my God, like this is too real, man. Like you're like looking at how this dude lived and how he's basically just trying to be a normal guy. And he felt really bad. And I guess that explains why Ellie was so driven. Like they tried to give you that feeling like you're so driven for revenge, like you're just blinded by it. And I get that. But I feel like if you really wanted to take it further, like if Neil Druckmann, like if I'm not saying Naughty Dog is trying to demonize Joel. I'm not saying they are. But if they really wanted to go in that direction, make a game where you play as Joel when he was with the, what are those guys called? It was that group of bandits that him and Tommy were a part of. True Witty, you're saying LOL MBG leave Naughty Dog's happy endings to Uncharted. Yeah, at least we get that there. What were the, I forget the name of the group. It's slipping my mind. I know you guys can tell me, but the group that Joel and his brother were part of, that would be interesting to me because I don't think it was the Wolves. I don't know. It was the dude. Like I remember Joel was he was talking to Ellie about how I don't think it was the Fireflies. Was it the Fireflies? The Hunters. Yeah, there you go. I think that's who they were. The Hunters. Where they would, am I wrong on that? Am I remembering that wrong? I'm pretty sure Joel said that him and his brother they basically were part of the Hunters as a way to survive. And they apparently like, he was alluding to like, they did some really, really messed up stuff. You're saying Joel's death was the hardest thing to watch. If someone else killed him and Abby was somewhere else, I feel completely different, but making me play as the character that brutally killed Joel. Yeah, that was tough, dude. That was the hardest pill to swallow. It was difficult. I feel like snowflakes. It's not about being snowflakes. It's just like, dude, it's not like, do you understand that what Naughty Dog tried to do with that story is like literally the hardest thing to do and pull off? And I would say they pulled it off successfully, but there's a lot of people who didn't like it. You know, I've given Naughty Dog a lot of shit, man, and I was extremely passionate about my feelings on The Last of Us 2, but I gotta admit, man, it takes some huge balls to do what they did with that story. Like huge balls, man. And that doesn't mean I like it anymore, but I'm just saying I at least respect the fact that, damn, like, you know, when they were coming up with that, they're like, how do you think our fan base is going to react to this? They're going to hate us. Like, and I'm like, you know, got to give them credit for that. Yeah. You're saying they didn't go the easy route. Yeah. I mean, I've lightened up on The Last of Us 2 a little bit. Because it's like, I don't know what that game was trying to achieve when it comes to like exactly what what Naughty Dog wanted me to feel. All I know is that none of it felt good. But it feels easier to kind of dissect now that I'm more removed from it, you know? They got emotion out of me, man. I gotta admit, dude, they got emotion out of me. So, I don't know. I mean, most awarded game ever. Yeah, I mean, dude, like, this is why I'm super pumped for The Last of Us multiplayer. I really am. I can't wait to see what that's going to be like. But I guess just to, finish talking about The Last of Us Part 3, apparently, because that's going to be a thing. I feel like the only real two directions they could go in is either a game that fully focuses on Abby and Lev. And that's the bomb I wanted to drop on you guys, by the way. I would actually be totally okay and on board for a game that stars Abby and Lev only, knowing that Joel and Ellie are not going to be part of it. Because that's what made The Last of Us Part 2 so difficult, is that, like, you're bringing in new characters and you want me to sympathize and empathize with them, but at the cost of, we're going to make you hate the old characters. And that was just too much for me. Like, I just didn't enjoy that aspect. But I feel like I maybe could enjoy an aspect if they flesh out Abby's character more and make her less abrasive. I think I could see a game like that, A Last of Us Part 3, that stars both them. And, I feel like that would be hard, though, because everybody would be like, where's Joel? Where's Ellie? And if you think it 100% needs to be Ellie, I just don't know what that would be, though. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where Ellie would, like, what is Ellie doing at that point? I mean, would it be like a reversal where, like, Tommy ends up being like, I'm going to go try to get Abby now, and then Ellie's like trying to stop Tommy from getting Abby? I don't know. It could either be Abby and Lev or brand new survivors, something like that. How about a Last of Us 3 where you play the entire game as a new survivor that you sympathize and empathize with, and instead of being brutally killed by somebody, you'd basically become infected, and like that's how the game ends. Like, you become super attached to this character, and like they get infected, and it's like, oh my god, maybe that's not that good. I don't know. I'm rambling now. Miami, you're saying, do you have any idea what Sony is doing with these smaller promos for PS5? If it's leading to something special, what do you think it could be? I don't know, man. My theory, as I've been saying, is that they're basically producing more PS5s. Like, they got the green light that they're going to have like an influx of more units over the next couple months. And I think that's why they're putting it out there. Because it wouldn't make sense for them to be pushing the PS5 hardware this much if, if they just didn't have units to sell. It doesn't make sense. So that's what I think. I think that them constantly pushing out more trailers of the PS5, I think that basically tells you that they're going to be producing more units soon or already, and they're going to have more to sell. That's what I think. So, but yeah, let me see what other topics I have here. I think I'm almost done. Let me see. So my cat's trying to get out. Sony revealed that the PS5 is still outpacing the PS4, but they may consider a redesign. Okay, so I want to talk about that for just a moment, because there was a lot of confusion with my... I hope my cat did. I think my cat just threw up on my floor. I really hope that's not what just happened, because that's really annoying. Anyway, getting really distracted over here. So I talked recently about this redesign. Now, I got a little bit frustrated. Yeah, she's okay. The cat's okay. I just think it was a hairball or something. Yeah. I have to deal with that when I'm done here. But I was getting a little bit frustrated because people were like, oh, she want to come up here? All right, maybe. I don't know. Maybe she'll jump up here. But people were getting, I was getting frustrated. Sorry, I'm getting really distracted. This is what happens when I go over 2 hours and 15 minutes of talking. That's annoying. My cat just threw up. That's annoying. People were, come on, are you coming up or what? She doesn't know what she wants to do. People were telling me that I was clickbaiting because, like, I said, oh, the PS5 redesign. And I got really annoyed because that's literally word for word what Sony CFO Hiroki Totoki said. Like, he literally said that they may consider some type of redesign to, and that's the thing, is like, people were like, oh my God, it's because the PS5 sucks. It's because they messed up with the PS5. No, like, so many people misunderstood. What they're saying is that the components in the PS5, whatever they may be, and I don't think they're talking about the GPU or the CPU, because the idea of respecking the PS5, that's out of the question. That literally can't happen. Unless Sony wants to basically yeah, what a name, right? Hiroki Totoki. Unless Sony wants to basically destroy any momentum they have with the PS5 and PS5 game development, a respec can't happen. It just can't. They would have to wait out the storm. The storm being the component shortage, and just have maybe a year of bad sales. Okay, they would just have to do that. But when we talk about a redesign, they're basically talking about just altering the internal components, at least to a certain degree, not putting in a new GPU or different RAM or something like that, but just altering something to maybe try to mitigate the shortage, to do something to make it so that they can make more units somehow. So now the thing that's confusing about it is that we don't know what that means exactly, and it's like, yeah, oh, what is he talking about, a PS5 Slim? I don't think so. I mean, maybe that could be it, I doubt it, but there could be something. But to me, it just sounds like it's a very last minute drastic, like, pretty much this is going to continue for the next 2 to 3 years. I mean, guys, it's crazy. At the rate it's going, these companies may be forced to do something insane. They might be forced to do something insane if it really gets that bad. What that could be, I don't know. But I don't think it's... I think that Hiroki Totoki, because I love saying that name, I think he was just trying to basically calm investors down, because it was during an earnings call, basically saying that, like, if it gets that bad, because that was a question that a lot of the investors were asking, is like, what about, what about the shipments, right? And the quantity of consoles, like, what's going on here? Like, he pretty much said, like, look, if it comes down to it, we could probably try to do something like that. So it just seems to me he was just trying to calm fears and, reassure their investors that everything's going good and not to worry. So, yeah, that's pretty much all the topics I had. Let me double check. I think I had, okay, so I did actually write down one last topic here, and we don't have to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I'm just curious. Do you guys think that Sony should consider buying Housemarque? So my thought process is yes. As I said, I think that after Returnal, I think Housemarque proved that they are the type of studio that can grow organically in the exact way that Sony wants studios to grow organically. So I think they should. And I get frustrated because people are like, they don't have to buy every studio. I'm not telling them. I'm not saying Sony has to buy every studio. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I think Housemarque is a studio that fits perfectly, because Sony, when they first bought Naughty Dog, when they first bought Guerrilla Games, when they first bought Sucker Punch, all these studios that are now looked at as like some of the most prestigious studios in the world, they didn't create these amazing AAA blockbusters right out of the gate. That's not what they were known for. I mean, they made good games, and that's exactly why I'm talking about Housemarque, because Housemarque already made good games, but yeah, I think they should. And that's pretty much all I have to say on it. Like, I guess I'm just trying to say, I think Sony should buy Housemarque. Maybe I could do a dedicated video on that or whatever. Maybe I can make a video like studios Sony really should buy. My cat's meowing though, and really wants to get out of here, and I gotta check to see if my cat threw up on the carpet. So I think that's pretty much gonna do it for this episode of the podcast, guys. So I want you to do me a big favor before you go. We are about 50 likes away from hitting 800. So I'm sure that there are enough of you still here. Please hit that like button before you go, and let's see if we can get to 800 likes. But this was a really, fun episode of the podcast. I enjoyed it. I love the title of it. I had fun because I knew that we were going to have a lot to say. And so, we're going into the first week of May now, and it's going to be interesting to see what starts to happen, because I've been saying it and I'm going to continue to say it. Please make a triple anus mug. Yeah, I'm going to have to do something with that, clearly. But I've been saying it that May and June, but starting in May, that's when things really start to heat up. And I think we're already feeling it with the games that are, being talked about and being released with Returnal, but I think it's going to get even better. So, all right, we hit the 800 like mark. Thank you guys so much for that. So big shout out to all of my channel members. You guys are awesome. I'll try to have more early access videos for you guys. I'll do the best I can. So huge shout out to you guys. Thank you to every person who was here today watching, and especially thank you to those who donated super chats. Again, you guys help power this channel, keep it going and keep it flowing. And I love doing this. And it always makes me feel good when you guys seem to love it as much as I do. So yeah, that does it for episode 59 of Press X Podcast. Really quick though, before I go, because I almost forgot, big shout out to Devil Shooter, who on a week-to-week basis does the timestamps in great detail for the podcast. So show him some love. He does a lot of work there, and he does it for the community because he really loves the community. And yeah, so look out for them. And huge shout out to you, Devil Shooter. But that's going to do it, guys. I will catch you all later. Until next time, take care.